Hello, and thanks for joining us for this episode number 17 of the Gamers of the Lost Spark podcast. We're recording this on the 9th of September 2015. I'm Darren Whittam, and joining me as always is the big boss of Borderlands himself, Mr. Antony Chesson. Antony, hi.
Hello, how are you?
I'm all right. How's your week been, mate?
Oh, it's been really good. It's been, kind of the last couple of weeks, or the last week, it's been full of just new games. A couple of weeks ago we were moaning that we didn't have any new games, but now I've got so many games. I've got games coming out of my ears, so I absolutely love it. So yeah, there's lots of games which we'll talk about in our what we've been playing section. But also, had Force Friday last Friday with all the new Star Wars toys. And I did get kind of caught up in that. I haven't bought anything yet, but I watched whilst I was working from home, in quotes, I watched the live stream with Anthony Carboni, and it was fascinating. It was just like kind of every hour they were showing new toys. What about you? Did you have you made a trip to Toys R Us?
I have been there and had a look, and I was pleasantly surprised by seeing the toys, because I just sort of wasn't aware of it, so I just stumbled across them. I was like, oh wow, look, the Star Wars figures are out. And so I was looking at them, and then I just stopped myself looking, because I was thinking, I don't want to see these characters. I want them to be introduced, when I watch the film. So I sort of withdrew from looking at them, but I saw an X-Wing Lego kit and TIE Advanced Lego kit as well as the figures in the same shop, and I was very impressed with them. And my little boy wasn't bothered yet, and I was thinking, oh man, I want this already, so I'm hoping that he's going to want it, because then, I can get it too. And then I was thinking, well, do we need to buy two anyway of some of these things, because how valuable the old 70s and 80s figures got. Maybe it's worth buying two of each, one to play with and one to just keep for a little nice display cabinet later on.
Absolutely, be smart now, kind of. Yeah, I mean that's one of the wrongs that we should right. If you could go back in time, if I could get my flux capacitor, then I would go. I would keep all of those figures and not play with them. But no, absolutely. I mean, for me, I think it was that kind of smart device controlled BB-8 I absolutely loved. I just thought that was fantastic. There's something about that little character that he won't outshine R2-D2 in my eyes, but there's something about him that's just very cool. And there was that, and also the Lego X-Wing. I was very tempted to buy the Lego X-Wing, but I stopped myself at the last minute. It's quite funny, because there's part of me that knows this movie just can't be bad. It might not be the best movie ever, which is obviously Empire Strikes Back, but it's gonna be good. And but there's part of me that is there's kind of worried that you go out and buy all these Lego figures and it turns out to be another episode 1. But I mean, obviously from what I've seen, what I've read, I've stopped reading and looking now, but what I've seen and read, it just looks like it's complete fan service, and it looks like it's going to be an amazing movie. But there's a cautious part of me before I start filling my house with Star Wars Lego. I just want to make sure that that's a good film.
Yeah, once bitten, twice shy, isn't it, really?
Absolutely. But, talking about Star Wars, this Friday, there is the new book that bridges Return of the Jedi and Force Awakens, which is called Star Wars Aftermath, or Aftermath, I guess.
Maybe for me. I don't know.
Aftermath.
I thought it'd be
Aftermath.
It
just shows how posh one is in Tunbridge Wells that we have an Aftermath.
You confused me now, because I thought Aftermath was correct for you, but I'm not sure now.
Well, no, exactly. It's like Aftermath. So anyway, this new Star Wars book, and it bridges the gap between the two. And also, today on the Marvel App Store, they have something called Star Wars Shattered Universe that also kind of runs along that same timeline as well. So, the Star Wars hype train is in full force at the moment. Wow.
I mean, there's books of the films anyway, isn't there? So, about 4, 5, and 6. So, have you read those at all?
I've pretty much read most of the Star Wars books. I mean,
because I know it goes off in all sorts of directions, doesn't it, as well?
It really does.
There's a big old universe. But the core books, would it be... I mean, I've watched the films a lot of times. Mainly for me, though, I must admit, it's just episode 4 that I watch over and over and over and over again. But is it worth... Do you get more out of the books? Because that's, is there that extra dimension that you usually get from a book?
Well, I mean, not so much from the kind of New Hope Empire Jedi books, But the expanded universe was really interesting because they went off and they did, Rogue Squadron, they went off and did Han Solo's Smuggler Run, they did Tales from Jabba's Palace. But when Disney took all of that over, they basically just said that's no longer canon. And they just...
I remember that, yeah.
They just put that as, I think they called it Legend or something like that. I mean, one of the best books, which I reread recently, which was just absolutely incredible, and to find that, along with some very interesting characters, was basically just scrapped. That was just like, sorry, that's no longer canon anymore, and that was it, and that was Heir to the Empire, which was written by Timothy Zahn. And that was a fantastic read, but that was just like, nope, that's not it anymore. That's not canon.
Yeah. Sorry, everybody. You have to forget that. But I mean, depending on if the direction that they're going to go with the new film and their ownership or acquisition of the IP, then and if it pleases everybody, and if everyone's like, wow, this is what we wanted, then I suppose it can be forgiven, But there'll be a lot of diehard fans of that universe that would have been pretty gutted at the time, I'm sure.
Yeah, no, absolutely. I mean, as we've said before in a previous podcast, we've got all of those comic books that are now kind of coming out on the Marvel comic app because they're republishing new comics and also those Legend comics as well. But the new ones, which are kind of like Star Wars, Darth Vader, Orlando Calrissian, soon to be Chewbacca, and also we could find out why C-3PO has a red arm as well. So there's stuff like that they're really kind of, and they've got some really good authors for those comic books as well, and they've got some fantastic artists as well. They're treating that franchise, they're treating Star Wars with the respect it's due.
Yeah, and as they should, as they damn well should. So that's great.
What about you? How's your week been?
Well, my week, I had a bit of bad news that I had to deal with, and I won't really go into that. But I had to process this bit of bad news I got, and it got me thinking about games because it's sort of a flip side that I don't think is often discussed. We talk about games we enjoy playing and we love games. They're so exciting and all the rest of it, latest technology and being part of it and the immersion. But this is something that I've used games for in the past, and dealing with this bit of bad news just made me do this again. And maybe you've done this, maybe you haven't, and maybe some of our listeners have. Maybe I'm just a bit crazy. But I find that when I'm dealing with certain issues or something, if I've got a lot to think about, a lot on my mind, be it bad news, be it some big news at work, things that I've got to really work through that maybe could be quite stressful, I'll turn to games to sort of help me through, because I can just sort of switch off and I can play the game and I let the information or what I'm trying to deal with just sort of soak into me and process while I'm playing the game. And I did that with this news. I sort of just put a game on. I was like, right, I can't really deal with this at the moment so much. So what I'm going to do is I know this is on my mind, but I will just go into sort of the position that's comfortable for me. So I'll put a game on that, and just play it. So I'm sort of like partly not there playing the game, partly, and just partly thinking about it, and it just sort of eases the way that I'm dealing with the information. And it just sort of allows the news to, or whatever it is at the time, whatever it is that I'm trying to process, to sort of absorb into me in an easier way. And I do find that gaming can be a crutch at times, and I think a lot of people would share that. And it's something familiar and reliable that you can lean on. And often the process of playing a game can allow you, well, me anyway, to sort of just digest and make sense of things, like subliminally make sense of it, as if you're sort of sleeping on it. Do you know what I mean? You're sort of it's distracting you from the big issue, but with something that you're used to and comfortable with and challenging. It's taking your mind off it to a certain degree, but it's allowing you to process it as well at the back of your mind. And I just thought I'd share that. And I wonder if you ever sort of use gaming for that sort of thing, just as something to help you process or go through something in the back of your mind while you're thinking something out, but you're just doing that while you're playing a game while you're doing it.
Oh, absolutely. I last year, this kind of similar kind of situation to you, and I actually found that kind of playing Telltale games. I downloaded the Telltale Collection, and I just sat and played those, and it was almost exactly what you were saying. It's almost like you're occupied in the front part of your brain, so the back part of your brain's kind of working out whatever you need to work out. And the same with work. Even now, if I get slightly stressed or something, I will, put on Forza or put a racing game on, just to kind of keep my brain occupied while the good part is working out the situation. I mean, I remember way back when I was a developer, I used to do that all the time. I would be playing a game or most of the time it's like racing games, and because I feel that you have to be kind of, you're locked in, you're really kind of thinking, and I found that helped me with some issues. That and sleeping. I used to wake up with answers to problems of the coding a problem that I had. I used to wake up and then it would be solved in my head, and it was just. But no, absolutely, I know exactly what you mean.
Yeah, I do think it's very similar to sleeping on it, and they say that your brain's working, or you can listen to languages, or you can listen to tapes or whatever, or audio. When you're asleep, and you'll absorb that information, and it's not that you're ignoring whatever it is that you've got on your mind, but you're just like you say, you're letting that front part of your mind focus on something else, and you know that the back is digesting it. And part of me, I can even sort of tell that that's happening. It's sort of running in the background in a separate process. I just thought it was interesting to sort of bring it up, and I found it works well. Yeah, and I remember actually once we had a hard conversation with a manager once, many years ago. It was probably in like 2002 era, and we used to play a lot of games in the office. Our good days, and we had a really difficult conversation to have, and we started trying to have this conversation, and we were just like, this is awkward. Let's play Soul Calibur. So we basically put Soul Calibur on and had the entire conversation while fighting on Soul Calibur, and it just made it easier, and it made it flow more naturally because we weren't so keen or so focused on what we were going to say. It came out more naturally because it wasn't rehearsed. It kind of flowed, because playing the game distracted the nervousness, if you like, a little bit, as if it lowered our inhibitions a little bit by concentrating on the game at hand, lowered the inhibitions for the conversation at hand. So probably not in the same way as alcohol, but a similar thing where alcohol lowers your inhibitions, but this drove your focus away from being inhibited to allow for the conversation to happen with less awkwardness, which was strange. But I think it works the other way as well, because I've had some of my best scores on racing games whilst I've been trying, say, all day, you're going around the same track, trying to better it. And then then all of a sudden you just sort of naturally lose your sort of pressure focus, and you ease into a conversation without noticing. Because if somebody interrupts you when you're really trying, you can sort of go, you're going to make me lose. But if you forget that you're trying, and then you start chatting, but you're still playing, and your body sort of takes over. And I've had some of my best scores like that, like the jetpack score that I got. It was I was playing it, so it was like 30 seconds or whatever it was, and I just kept repeating it. So I was in that sort of muscle memory of just starting the game, and I got my high score when I just let myself. It's kind of like use the force or something, but I let myself go, and I found I was just having a conversation while playing it, and then as the game ended, I was like, can't believe it, I've got 47. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And it made me think of a film as well. If any listeners sort of agree with this, there's a film that I watched a while ago, and it's a very strange film because it's an Adam Sandler film, but it's not a comedy, and it's called Rain on Me, and then that's REIGN on Me, and that's about a guy who's dealing with a massive loss, closes himself off from the world, and he seeks solace in. One of the things that he seeks solace in for comfort is games, and there's a scene with him playing Shadow of the Colossus, which is how I got introduced to the film originally. And I suppose that I'm not saying that people should close themselves off and play games all the time, obviously not. I'm just saying that it can help, and it can be a little area where you can process, and you can get focus maybe, or just shut yourself away while you're processing thoughts. And I suppose it could be looked on as a blessing and a curse, because it's good therapy. I think it's definitely good therapy to be able to work your way through issues yourself and being distracted at the same time to allow yourself to process it in sort of not an uninhibited way, but a less sort of harshly focused way. And then when after you've finished it, you're sort of a bit like waking up in the morning. You're sort of like, oh yeah, some stuff's happened there. I've worked through it a little bit. But the bad thing is you don't want to sort of get lost in that and think that, oh no, I'm sort of not happy unless I'm just playing this game all the time because I have to face reality. So you don't want to go that far either.
No, absolutely. But, I think, and also with games, I think it helps because you are kind of enjoying yourself. So it's kind of lifting any spirit as well. But also, more so than movies, because I guess when you're watching movies, you can have a tendency to just then kind of think back because your brain's not as occupied as when you're playing games. So, no, I totally get where you're coming from.
Yeah, and you can drift with movies, like you say. You can't really with games. And games, I think, for me, and most people, I'd say, is like, it's the nostalgia thing as well. You say about you're enjoying it, but also you've got that sort of history that you've always enjoyed doing that. So there's that as well that's sort of psychologically built into you as a gamer, that when you're gaming, that's sort of a happy place.
Absolutely. And so what's been in your happy place then this week? What have you been playing?
Well, I've been playing, I'll do it in reverse order, I think.
Yep.
Zeo Drifter, I've been giving a bit of a chance. That's the PS Plus game that was available this month. And you know something, I put it on and I was like, oh, not another 8-bit game, pixel game. But there was something about it. It had a lot of 8-bit charm. And I was like, wow, I'll give this a go. And I started playing it and I was getting killed and I was finding it very difficult. And I was like, I was getting a bit angry with it. But I thought, you know something, this is just like playing a game. It really put me in mind of my Commodore 64. So I thought, you know what, I'm going to stick with it because I sort of think there's got to be more to it than this because it's very basic at the start. And I thought, I think this is the sort of game. I think I stumbled upon the menu screen by hitting the touchpad, probably in a rage because I just got killed for the umpteenth time. And I saw this sort of pretty sophisticated menu. It looked like there was going to be abilities and power-ups. And I was thinking, it's going to be sort of a Metroidvania sort of exploration game. And I thought, you know what, I'm going to plod on. I'm going to keep trying, and I'm going to get some power. I'm going to see what's going on with it. And just as I suspected, I ran into a boss, and this boss was very difficult. It was very difficult to kill. And when I killed the boss, it gave me an ability that then enabled me to explore more of the worlds. And I was like, yes, this is exactly what I thought this game was going to be. It's just great. I really like it. It oozes 8-bit charm. If you love those old-style games, and maybe, if you just want a bit of a change, though I say that kind of loosely because we are kind of inundated in a lot of this style of game at the moment. But it's really nice. It's a sweet little game, and it doesn't seem that large. I've played it for a few hours, and I'm about 28% in, and I think that it'd be a nice alternative from some of the other stuff. Have you had a dabble, Anthony?
I haven't. No, I've kind of downloaded it. It has been sitting there in my cross media. Is it still the cross media bar on the PlayStation 4? Yeah. It's been sitting there in there, kind of waiting. But I've been playing a bigger game than that this week. I went on my PS4. But no, I haven't fired it up yet. But it sounds like it could be worth a razz.
Yeah, it's okay. And also, I've gone back in time to Resogun.
Oh, Resogun.
Yeah, Resogun is really good.
That's such a great game, isn't it?
Yeah, I sort of never really focused on it before, so I've thought, right, let's just play some decent Resogun, and I'm getting a bit hooked. I must say, I love it. It's a proper game, isn't it? It's a proper old school game with the fact you've got so much to think about. It's all very instant, reflex shooter, and it's that combination of the rescuing of the humans, but keeping your multiplier up, very much like Super Stardust or Geometry Wars, which I also love. But it's a nice twin stick shooter, and the fact that it's sort of just left and right as you rotate around the planet, I just find it very, very satisfying to play, and it shows off the PS4. It still shows it off. I'm still sort of breathtaking when the whole sort of world just explodes into a shower of pixels around me. It's cool. It's so cool. But I'm working at the moment on completing the veteran difficulty, and I haven't done it yet. It's hard. But it's sort of like I'm trying to concentrate on too much because I'm trying to complete veteran difficulty and keep my multiplier at sort of 15. But I think if I just said, right, I'm going to complete veteran, I could just do it. Well, hopefully, touch wood. I am all right at games. But trying to do both, I can't help it. And that's what I love about it. I can't help but sort of reach for the sky, reach for that times 15, and it's so good, and it's so instant to have another go as well, which I always love. It always hooks me in. Yeah, and before the other game is obviously Metal Gear Solid, but before we chat about that, because I'm sure you've been playing it as well, do you want to run through what you've been playing this week as well?
So this week I've been playing. I've been playing Gears of War Ultimate Edition. So it's that 1080p 60 frames a second remaster that came out on Xbox One, and I've said before, but it just looks absolutely amazing. It's the same Gears. They have actually added an extra level. But so Nicola and I, we sat down when it came out on Friday, and we played through the campaign. I think we did it on hard +1, whatever. I think that might be. It's not insane. It's whatever that is. We played on that, and we went through the entire campaign over the weekend, and just had a blast doing it. It was, same Gears, but it was just so much fun. And there was actually some bits that I completely forgot about. So when we were kind of walking around, I was like, I didn't remember this, I don't remember this. So it's obviously my age, but it looks stunning. It looks so good. It actually, in a way, it looks like a brand new game, because the love that Coalition Studios have put into this game is just incredible. And it runs so smooth. It looks fantastic. I must admit, the controls in certain places were a little bit clunky. You know how the first game was a little bit clunky in places. Yeah. It's kind of a bit. There's the same engine is under the bonnet. It's just the car has been tarted up. It's absolutely great fun. It's a really good game. Lots of finger in the ear and walking around. From me, lots of come on. But apart from that, it was good fun. So I jumped onto multiplayer this weekend because they had a double XP event happening this weekend. So I jumped on and got to, I think, about level 10. And that was playing King of the Hill. But I'm definitely going to have more, jump into more multiplayer, because it was really good fun.
Yeah, I hear report after report that Gears of War Ultimate Edition is, like, if not the first and only true meaning of what a remaster should be.
Absolutely. This absolutely defines kind of what that kind of remaster should be.
Sets the benchmark for...
It sets a whole new benchmark.
That this is it. This is what it is. First of all, it's got to be a game that's up there, with Gears. That's the benchmark for making it worthwhile remaking it. Yes. And after that, it's like, this is the benchmark. This is what the gamers, this is what the consumer actually wants from a remaster. All the bells and whistles, all there, everything banged up to 11, everything you could possibly do. We're going to deliver you the game we wished we could have delivered you at the time, even though it was amazing at the time. Yeah. So I think it must be amazing to play, and I wouldn't remember a lot of it as well.
That's really good fun, and I haven't even got my codes yet. My codes for the additional games, but they're obviously just backwards compatible.
Oh, yeah.
They haven't been kind of tarted up like this.
Are you going to go through them, do you think?
I don't think so. There are a couple of achievements that I think my brother-in-law and wants to play. So we might just kind of, I've got my saves up in the cloud, so I might just kind of download them and just kind of have some time with him and just kind of go through a couple of them.
Yeah. Did they throw a horde mode into Ultimate Edition? Did they stick it in there? Because I know it wasn't on Gears of War 1 originally.
No, they didn't. But that was actually, it's quite funny you say that, because that was one of the things that I really wanted when we finished the campaign. Because we had such fun doing it, we really did just go, God, it would be so much fun if there was a horde now. Just because when it's running, and when it was running on my kind of big TV, it just looks so smooth. Those 60 frames, that 1080p, it really does just look so smooth. And it's almost like every time you go into a new multiplayer match, you just kind of go, oh, that looks good. You get that kind of moment, and that's exactly what I wanted. Maybe not the Horde 2.0 mode that they put in later games, but definitely just Horde. I would have loved to have played some of those levels that way.
Yeah, they probably know that we're all hankering for that, so it's sort of, sometimes it's best to let the audience just want it, because obviously this version's ignited that spark again, and definitely a desire. Just from you talking about it then, it's put me giving me a big smile on my face just thinking of the Horde matches I used to have, and I used to love that mode. I really used to love that mode. And I'm thinking, as you were talking, I was just thinking, yeah, I can't wait for Gears of War 4. So they'll know this, won't they? So they're just holding it back and thinking, yeah, well, we'll deliver it with the new game in ultimate on Gears of War 4.
Yeah, I hope so. I hope they do include there, because I know that the Horde mode in the later Gears, either Gears 3 or Gears Judgment, had, you could build fortifications as well. So as you were kind of playing through the level, you got more credits, and those credits you could buy fortifications, and it was just, it was just so much fun. It really was. I really did enjoy those times. So that's kind of been playing Gears of War Ultimate, and then also on the same day, because they always come in pairs, was Disney Infinity 3.0. And I've got to tell you, Darren, I am absolutely loving Disney Infinity. I have only bought, you'll be very proud, I've only got the Twilight of the Republic, and that is young Anakin Skywalker and potentially one of the coolest new Star Wars characters, and that's Ahsoka Tano. And they're from the Clone Wars. So Ahsoka was introduced during the Clone Wars TV show, and a big favourite of mine. So you get to kind of play with both of those characters, and I just love it. I just think it's just so much fun. It's where I normally play Forza kind of on a Saturday or Sunday morning while I'm listening to a podcast. Disney Infinity has been that play for me. And there's some really big names in the dev into this game, and including Ninja Theory, who obviously do all of the combat. But I'm really enjoying it. So I finished the Twilight of the Republic. I finished that. Got gone along through a lot of the play sets. Got out some of my other Infinity figures and placed those on the base. And the only two downsides that I've got with Disney Infinity, two gripes, is one of them, I placed my Iron Man Captain America figure on there, and the leveling that I got in 2.0 doesn't carry across. They both start back again at 0.
Ouch.
So that was a bit of a bugger, because I got some really cool kind of upgrades for both those characters, and I was looking forward to playing those in the Star Wars universe, true Disney, a bit of Marvel in Star Wars. I'm sure that will come soon. And then the other huge gripe is that the multiplayer is just not working at the moment. So the multiplayer is there's a Finn's arcade from Tron.
Oh, cool.
And it's just not working. You go into it, you sit there for about 5 minutes, it's just trying to join, and then the game just crashes, basically. I did tweet to Disney Infinity to tell them about it, and they said there was an update, but I updated the Xbox One, and it just made it worse. So the only reason why I'm trying to play it is because there's 200 achievement points for playing one game, and for playing 10 games you get 100 each. So I'm just trying to get those. Which was really annoying that they could get those. So those so that was kind of my gripes. But all in all, I'm really enjoying it. I've been into game a couple of times, and I am really kind of I'm not going to buy the Inside Out pack or any more Disney figure or any more Star Wars figures. But I am looking forward to the pack that comes out in October, which has Han Solo and Luke Skywalker and Princess Leia, etc. So I'm looking forward to that. So I've kind of packed away my Disney Infinity 3.0 disc until that comes out.
Okay, but it's definitely it's a better game now, isn't it? They've increased the playability in Disney Infinity 3 from what I've read, and it's getting good reviews across the board. People are saying, it's just fun to play. It's just fun.
It really is. It just is one of those games that you just stick on, a big smile on your face. You got Sumo Digital are obviously doing the driving. There's some driving levels, where you're just speeding around, and whether it's a snow speeder, an X-Wing, or, you're just having some really good fun with that. And like I said, Ninja Theory, there's some really good combos when you start leveling up, because Ahsoka, she has 2 lightsabers. So when you start kind of leveling her up, she's got some really good moves.
Wow, that's really cool. It's a shame that yet another game comes out with broken online, or broken multiplayer, I should say. Online probably works, but the multiplayer facet, again, is in disarray on release, and it's getting, it's getting a bit ridiculous, isn't it? I almost was going to interrupt you and say, well, what you bothered about? That's just normal, isn't it, these days?
Absolutely,
Why is it even a conversation? It's just taken as read. stats. You
It's
won't be
just a
able to play
given.
multiplayer. Yeah, you got to wait like about 6 months. You know,
They should have that in the box. Multiplayer broken on release.
obviously.
Oh yeah, and then in brackets, obviously. So I've been playing that. I also had a quick go of the Forza 6 demo. So waiting for Forza 6 to drop next week. I've got another one of those painful weeks that I had with Gears of War next week, where Forza 6 comes out on the Tuesday in the US, and then I have to wait for my digital copy to unlock on the Friday again. So it's always the same with Microsoft first party titles, I guess. But I had a go at the Forza 6 demo. Have you played it at all?
Yeah, I had to go on the demo. I've seen some. I saw a review drop yesterday. Maybe it's got like best racing sim ever, saying like Xbox has now brought out the best real racing simulator, better than Gran Turismo and stuff like that. I didn't read the whole review. I saw these headlines and I was like, wow. So yeah, I had to go with the demo, and
It's very smooth, isn't it?
it is. It's like it's like you're running on double cream, isn't it? It's that smooth. Yeah, I thought it was cool. I loved the look of it. I liked it. I liked it a lot. But I think it's either that I couldn't master the handbrake, or it's just too real for me because I couldn't sort of drift around the corners. I'm expecting you to tell me it's not a drifty game.
I was just about to say that. What are you doing, dude? You know, it's just like I've never used the handbrake in Forza ever. But yeah, no, I know exactly what you mean. But I mean, I must admit, I really enjoyed the aquaplaning on the wet tracks. That was good fun. That really kind of added a lovely dynamic to it.
Yeah, it's really, and it looks gorgeous as well. But for me, if it's, it needs to be a bit arcadey. I can't really do it. I can't do it anymore. Gran Turismo, I sort of played for a little bit, as I said on other podcasts, and it gave me a blister because I got into it. But these days, you know, even having wheels on the car on a racing game sort of puts me off. You know, I like my hover ships. I like Wipeout, F-Zero, or Mario Kart. They've got wheels, but they do drift. And so the closest I've got at the moment is Drive Club. That's as close to realistic that I can get, and I thought that was pretty real. But I played Forza, and I was like, bloody hell, it is much more realistic. And then, yeah, I couldn't even tell if I was pressing the handbrake or not, apart from by the brake lights. But I did okay. I went around the track, and I did okay. But then I thought, I better fix the demo to make me think I'm good at it, so I buy the game.
And then when you get to play the game, you're
solid.
just kind of like all over the place.
Yeah.
Did you also with Forza 6? Did you see that amazing ad that they put online yesterday, or it could have been Monday, which was the kind of "we've been building to this" advert? It was just incredible. It basically just went through the history of racing games.
Oh wow! No, I didn't see it. No.
Oh god! I'll put a link to it in the bottom of this, into the bottom of this podcast. But they basically just kind of went through and they had Forza in all of these different racing games. So you had Forza in this really old kind of top-down, black and white, and then it kind of cut to 3D, and you see the new Forza car going around the course. And then they went to Pro-Am, you know, that's on Rare Replay.
Yeah.
So they went to that, and then so they had that all. It was just gorgeous. They even had a puddle that was all pixelated when the car went through it, and then it went to like pole position, Chase HQ.
Wow!
It's so good. It's probably one of the best gaming ads I've seen forever. And then at the end, it just says, you know, we've been building to this game, you know, forever. And I was just like, awesome. You know, I was just there, I was clapping. I was
wow.
Like,
when you got me when you said pole position and Chase HQ, then you just dropped the mic.
Well, exactly. I mean, I won't spoil it because there is some really good stuff for Chase HQ and pole position that you'll absolutely, your head will explode.
I can't wait.
We should stop the podcast now. You should watch it and then come back.
Yeah, I'll be back in 5 minutes. Oh, I can't wait to watch that.
Oh. So that was. I mean, I must admit, you know, the hype for that was building already for me. But you know, reading the reviews, I had a look at Eurogame, I had a look at IGN. It seems like it is a solid Forza game, and I'm looking forward to kind of getting in there.
Yeah, and I look forward to hearing your opinion on it. I'm not going to get it because it's too serious for me, but I can appreciate that it's sort of I think it's becoming the best of its ilk. You know, it's going to be the go-to game for your realistic racing, and good on them. They've been trying for years. I think Gran Turismo's always picked them at the post recently, but Gran Turismo, the development time's so long. You know, I remember like on PS2, you know, it just came out. It's years. It was always like, when's it coming out? When's it coming out? Same with the next one, and it's just a bit of a joke, really. But Forza's kind of reliable. You know, they always come out. They're always better. It always looks amazing to me, but yeah, I need a bit more of my drifting, sort of Project Gotham Racing sort of thing on it. But I wonder, when you said about that trailer, you made me think about the recent one for Metal Gear Solid 5. Did you watch the one that sort of was sort of his farewell trailer? Did you get to see it at all? Cause
I did. That was the one that we put in the notes for our last podcast.
Absolutely, and that sort of like showed you. It went through the history of the games. I mean, it didn't go through all the history of the genre, but it showed like it went backwards from sort of the early Metal Gears right through to, and it sort of said as well, we've been building to this. I wonder if one of them got inspired by the other.
Yeah, absolutely. Maybe, you know, it's maybe that was but this advert, just, you know, when you watch it, we'll talk about it next week because I'll be talking about Forza hopefully. That'll
be my input. You'll be talking about Forza, about all the technicalities and everything that I won't understand, and I'll just go, I watched that trailer and it was amazing, and I'll feel good about myself.
Absolutely. So that kind of brings us on to that last game that we've been playing, and that obviously is Metal Gear Solid 5. I don't know how many hours I am in. I'm about 6 missions in. I completed mission 6 last night. What about you, Darren? What are you? How far are you in?
Yeah, I think I'm not much ahead of you. I think I'm about 9 missions in. But I've put a lot of hours into it, and it's got its hooks into me. Like, I can't remember again getting its hooks into me like this. And it's strange for me because I played, as you know, and as regular listeners will know, I played Ground Zeroes again, and only when it was free on PS4, and I just had it, and I didn't even play it straight away. And then I thought, I completed The Witcher, and I was sort of just dabbling around in different things here and there, and I thought, right, this is the opportunity, because it's Metal Gear 5's coming out in a few weeks. I'll have a go on Ground Zeroes and just get myself prepared. And I don't know if you remember me saying, but I couldn't get the control set. I didn't like it. I couldn't work it out. I couldn't stay hidden and things like that. And the controls were so different than what I was used to with The Witcher, or just what I was used to in any game, really. I was just like, I don't get this. All the buttons are in different, unnatural places to me, they felt. Anyway, so I persevered and I played through Ground Zeroes and completed it. And I thought, oh no. And I had Metal Gear 5 on pre-order. And I was thinking, oh, this is going to be a nightmare. I hope I'm going to like it. And then the reviews dropped. And then I was thinking, wow, I'm glad I pre-ordered this. It's getting stellar reviews. Then I was thinking, oh yeah, but are the reviews biased because of the sort of boot camp review event that Konami provided for the reviewers, the big reviewers that were allowed to give the early reviews, because all the early reviews that were dropped came from sort of an invite-only event that Konami put on for the reviewers, and they were all there sort of in a boot camp where they just played the game all the time. And we had a chat, didn't we, about the pros and cons of that, and that there's certainly, I'll give the sort of what I thought was the flip side of your positive view first, Anthony, and then if you wouldn't mind just giving the positive side.
Absolutely.
But so my thought was like, this is a bit bad because they're there in everything's controlled by Konami there. It's a controlled situation. They're being sort of monitored by Konami PR guys, and they're being presumably paid to fly out there. Who knows what kind of hospitality is included that could sort of influence their decisions or their way of thinking while they're playing the game there. There's all this buzz and hype about it. They've got like-minded reviewers there as well, and it's sort of like, could the buzz sort of bias the opinion was what I thought. I thought it was a bad thing rather than that they could just review it in the normal environment. Why does it have to be under strict Konami control? That's what I sort of get at. Why not just send them a disc? It's an amazing game anyway. Why not just send them the disc? And then there wouldn't be any controversy about it. But your slant on it was different, and I like the slant that you gave there. So could you just remind me of that, please, Anthony?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, like, my take on that was that at the same time as you know, they are there for a Konami event, and they're there and they're kind of, being fed and watered by Konami. At the same time, there's a whole group of journos that are there playing this game, enjoying the game from the look of all of the reviews, and now obviously getting my hands on it, I can see exactly why. And then they're just kind of, it breaks when they have kind of, personal breaks and lunch breaks. They're talking about it, and I must admit, there's been times and times where I've been playing this, when I've been playing like Mission 6, which I finished last night, is potentially one of the best things that I've played since Batman.
Wow.
So it's
praise.
just, absolutely high praise for me indeed, but it was fantastic, and I instantly, if it wasn't kind of 11:30, I would instantly, and I don't think I did, I think I messaged you because I wanted to talk to somebody about it because it was fantastic. So if I was in an area full of people that are obviously enjoying this game as well, I just think, it could obviously have an effect on the score. It could maybe add a couple of points or some positives. But in a way, that's a good thing because that's what you're experiencing while playing this game. So if that's what you're experiencing, kind of chatting to other people, having water cooler moments, even if it's in around Konami's water cooler, you're still having those moments with people rather than kind of being shut off at home and just demoing and reviewing this game. So that's why I thought it was quite a positive thing.
Yeah, it's interesting. There's definitely two sides to it. I mean, I suppose if you could just concentrate just on the game and not stare at the dancing girls and the streamers and the confetti that's going everywhere and the Ferraris,
big pile of cash that they had next to the TV.
But I don't know. I just thought for me, if I was in a position to review a game, and you want to give an unbiased opinion, to your fan base, to your readership, to your listener base, whatever it might be. Would I feel that I'd sold out by attending one of these events? Would I feel that I'm somehow being influenced if I accepted it? And from an integrity point of view, I'm not sure whether it would be the best thing to do for my own conscience. And I think that I would rather just review it in the same manner that I would review other stuff, which would be in whatever environment that would be. And the fact that I don't understand why it would have to be in a controlled environment, and...
But you can see why people went, because if you think about it...
You don't get the exclusive unless you go, do you?
Well, exactly. If an email dropped into our kind of feedback at gamersalostspark.com email address, as saying, would you like to come over to Konami and play this? You're going to jump at the chance because you've got exclusivity for your site, for your podcast. And I will think, obviously, there is some negatives about it, but I do think that playing it with a group of people that are enjoying it at the same time, I think for me, it would enhance the experience. And like I say, I think my only negative is that it could potentially raise the score because you're having such a blast.
Well, that's exactly it, isn't it? So it could raise the score because you're enjoying it so much. Your fun's being increased by the camaraderie of your fellow reviewers. And is that a good thing? Is that right? Is that right? I suppose is the question. But nevertheless.
But whether it's right or wrong, that's what that game, Metal Gear Solid 5, is producing. So that's not fake.
Yeah. It couldn't get that if it was a rubbish game.
Exactly. You wouldn't do the same thing about, I don't know, whatever game. You wouldn't do that about a game that you weren't interested in. You'd be like, oh yeah, that's not too bad. Yeah, they but by the sounds of it, they were obviously enjoying themselves and they're obviously kind of came away quite positive. I think it's a strange one. I think Konami they're very protective. Listening to Kind of Funny podcast, they had Greg Miller was there for, I think he's played about 60 hours before it even came out. He played 60 hours, and he was just saying that Konami were like, don't mention this mission, don't mention that mission, so they were very controlled because they wanted to keep it spoiler free.
I appreciate in a way that, that's a good thing.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, I like that control, and I'd rather, in a way, when I'm thinking of that from that angle, I'd rather it was under wraps, and I wouldn't want a big let's play all over YouTube and every headline I see, saying something else about Metal Gear, because I'm getting this at the moment. Now it's out. I'm looking at the news sites, and all I'm seeing is like, what about this in Metal Gear Solid 5? What about? And I'm just having to just ignore it all because I don't want to see any of it.
Exactly. Same here. I want to know, and one of the things I want to kind of ask you is if I'm playing the game correctly, but I'm scared to go onto IGN's website or something because they're going to like give away about, then there's this bit where, Octopus Snake comes out. That's not even a character. But
it sounds like one.
And they come, and I just don't want to see any names. I don't want to see any characters that maybe make a return. I mean, in terms of the game, how, I'm absolutely having a blast to the fact that, I'm finishing work. I was working from home yesterday, and I was instantly, as soon as I'd finished work, went downstairs, had a game, had some tea, then kind of back on it, and was playing it until late. I mean, how are you? Are you enjoying the mechanics?
Yeah,
I do kind of want to ask you if I'm playing it right.
Yeah, well, wait, so you love it, right? Did you? My quick question would be, did you instantly love it, or did you just take a bit of time? Because with me, I didn't love it as much as I love it now instantly because I was a bit overwhelmed. And I'm still overwhelmed, but I love it. So
I didn't like the opening scenes. Again, no spoilers during this, so don't worry about it. But I did like the opening scenes, but I enjoyed it once I got to Afghanistan. That's when I really enjoyed it. That's when I was like, yeah, this is something special. It looks, I mean, we've said time and time again, looks amazing as a default, but I have never seen vistas looking this amazing. It looks absolutely stunning. I thought The Witcher was breaking new ground for the look and feel of a game, but this is just absolutely amazing. I just think it's incredible.
The bar just gets raised and raised and raised since we've been doing this podcast. It just gets raised with each big game, and I didn't mind the opening. I thought because after persevering with Metal Gear 4 and 1 and 2, the length of the cutscenes and the gibberish nonsense that I put up with those, compared to that, I thought it was kind of a blessed relief. And I didn't mind it, actually. I quite enjoyed it. A little subtle tutorial there, getting you to sneak and stuff. I didn't mind it. And I was just enjoying taking in the graphics, really. So I didn't mind it, actually. I didn't mind it. The big set pieces, sort of the verge on the ridiculousness of what's going on. I was just like, what is going on here? But I still enjoyed it. I did like it. But yeah, like yourself, I enjoyed it more when it was in proper game mode and you arrived in Afghanistan, and I was like, right, this is the bit. This is the actual game. This is what we're going to play. And I was like, man, I mean, there's no spoiler. It was shown in E3 as you and Ocelot just sort of galloping along in Afghanistan, and that's like the introduction to sort of the game that you will play in Afghanistan. And I was just like yourself, I was just looking at these beautiful landscapes, thinking, again, I'm going to be saying again, it's the best thing I've ever seen.
Yeah.
And D-Horse is a cool horse, and I'm thinking, oh no, what's Roach going to think?
Yeah, absolutely. I was thinking that. I was thinking Roach has been kind of out-horsed by D-Horse. It's really cool. Yeah. I don't know about you, but I mean, so the way that I'm playing, and this is kind of what I want to, and any listeners, if I'm playing wrong, then please let me know. Tweet at me at ChessmanUK or email us. But so what I'm doing is I'm playing my missions. So you play the missions, you kind of pick off your next mission. So I'm picking that off. I'm then coming back to Mother Base. I am trying to kind of do some R&D, open up some new weapons, and then just going to the next mission. So that's so it's mission, bit of R&D, bit of Mother Basing, and then going on to my next mission. Is that kind of the way that you're doing it, and just going sequentially down those missions?
Yeah, right. So what I've done is I started it, and that's exactly what I was doing. I was doing a mission. And then after each mission, it's so well designed because after each mission you get a little extra bit, don't you? You get a little extra bit. It's like introduces this aspect or that aspect. So I do the mission and then try and explore as thoroughly as I could anything extra that had been introduced and try and understand the menu system and what was going on with the Mother Base and things like that. So I'd do the mission and then I'd do anything else extra that I could. Look, any new menus, look at the weapon development, try and, just understand that. Basically, I only use the first tab because that shows you what you can develop. So I don't really bother with the rest anymore. I just look at the first tab, which shows you what you actually can pick. Just getting an appreciation of how much things cost towards how much GMP you make for a mission. and things like that. So yeah, and that's what I did. I did mission and then explore, and then I think as soon as I found out that side ops were available, I did some side ops.
Right, so it's a bit like the kind of mini missions in Batman where you can do your story mode, or you can just kind of do something else. Just to, like you say, get more XP, get more GMP in this case. And also, I'm finding that when I have a objective on my map, but I'm also exploring around that because there's loads of suitcases with different elements that you can then process, can't you? And then they just they go into your mother base account.
Yeah.
So that's kind of right, and then one of the things that happens kind of I think after about mission 3 or 4 is that you can start to Fulton people. So I'm trying to do as stealthy as I can. I must admit, mission 5 cracked me up because I was going really well, doing really stealthy, and then suddenly I was spotted, and all hell broke loose, and then I just killed everybody. So I was just like, up until then, I was just doing so well. I was never spotted. I was never seen. I was proper stealth, and then suddenly I just got found. Everyone went crazy. The base erupted, and I just wiped everybody out. And I was just like, this didn't feel like a proper Metal Gear Solid. I was going to restart because I had restarted the missions a couple of times when I was spotted, but this one, it just was quite fun just to kind of run around and, stop the communication to another base and nobody else came in and just kind of wipe everybody out.
Wow, yeah. There's just so much to say about this game. It's so open-ended,
really is.
And like you say there, I'm the same. I sort of want to be stealthy. I mean, I think you get the most reward, I'm presuming, I think, for being more stealthy and not getting seen. And I'm like you, I was doing a mission and I just kept getting seen, and I kept restarting. It was like a bit, just like, ring, and it's like, right, start again. And in the end, I was just like, I can't do it. So I just had to take my anger out and start, taking them all down and just killing everybody. And I did the mission, and then I thought, was that the right way? But, it gives you the choice. There's no real right or wrong about it. You can just go in all guns blazing if you like, but I think it's just more rewarding to go in and do it stealthily. But
absolutely, and I think once you've done a mission, you can go back, can't you, with upgraded equipment, with new guns, and then you can then do it again, I guess, and try and get a higher rating.
Yeah, and I'm sure there's some missions that have got sort of, because when you first do the mission, you only see sort of the main objective, which could be, say, extract this guy from this place. And there's like several underneath. There'll be like 5 or 6 other objectives that are all blanked out. And you don't get to see what they are until you've completed the mission. Then if you've done any of those, it'll fill them in. But it will show you what you've missed. So then it's sort of tempting you or inviting you back in to go back into the mission to get all these checks. And I'm sure that on some missions there's like one of the sort of sub objectives would be to extract a person, but another one would be to eliminate. And I'm sure they're both in the same mission, so you couldn't do both of those in one playthrough because you couldn't extract and eliminate the guy. Well, I suppose you could kill him and then take him out with a Fulton balloon, but so I think it's sort of getting you to try different play styles, and it's putting that in the objectives to make you try and be diverse. And that's where I am at the moment. I've done so many missions, and as I say, once side ups got introduced, I started doing them because they're just interesting. And I'm sort of thinking to myself, I'm sure that when I first started playing, there was like a free play, something that said free play, and that was to just do side missions, go off piste, if you like, and explore and things. Now, I was looking for this free play thing that I probably imagined that I saw, and I couldn't find it anywhere. But I think side ops is sort of free play, so because you just pick an insertion point, you get a drop point, and then you're free to just go all over the map and do what you want. So I was doing I think currently I'm doing some side ops, but anyway, I'm sort of getting ahead of myself. I'm doing side ops at the moment, but after the last mission that I did, I thought, right, let's take stock. I want to improve. I'm enjoying this game so much, but I'm sure that I'm missing loads that I should know about. So I thought, what I'm going to do, I'm going to go back and repeat a mission. So I went back and I repeated the first mission, which is after the initial introduction, where you first go to Afghanistan. I thought, right, and I looked at the objectives and I've missed about 4. And I thought, right, let's go and do this, and I'll just do all these objectives. So I got myself inserted and dropped in at the insertion zone, or whatever you call it. And I was like, right, I'll be well good now because, I've done a few levels. I've got some kit. And you carry the kit through that that you've acquired. So you've got more devices. For instance, if there's an objective of extract a weapons installation like a mortar gun, then you couldn't do that when you first start playing because you haven't got the equipment to do that. So it's inviting you to go back when you've leveled up a bit more, when you've got more stuff. I think it's sort of set that way that you can't do everything the first time anyway. So you look at it and you think, oh, right, well, I couldn't have actually, and I'm sure everybody listening knows what a Fulton is, but the Fulton device it never gets old, does it? Is that if you take somebody out, you choke them out, and they're having or you send them to sleep with a tranquilizer gun, which I quite like as well. And when they're asleep, you can go up to them and you can attach a balloon to them, which basically lifts them up nice and gently to about 6 foot in the air, gives you a little bit of time to get behind some cover, and then just whoosh, rockets them up into the air where a helicopter just flies over and gathers them up for your mother base, and they're all quite good, they all work for you. And it never gets boring, does it? I love doing it. I absolutely love doing it.
I love hearing them scream as they go up. You can always hear them, they go, ah! It's just like, it's so much fun. Have you found the wharf pop, the little kind of wild dog?
Yeah. And then did you extract him?
Fortuning him was just fantastic. You just heard this little dog kind of yap as he kind of went up, and it really made me chuckle.
Yeah, and it doesn't handhold you, does it? It didn't tell you to do that. It doesn't tell you what to do. It's completely open-ended and free and easy with what you want to do. It's just like, you didn't have to do that. I'm glad you did, and I think any gamer would, but you didn't have to do it. It didn't sort of like blink or flash or say, big arrow saying ding, ding, ding. It was nothing like that, was it? It's just like there's something here. You want to look at it? You don't want to look at it? It's up to you. It's very, very. I think it's one of the most open-ended games I've ever played.
No, it really is. Like I say, the mission 6 that I played last night, I enjoyed it so much that I actually played it again. I got to the end, really enjoyed it, went through it super stealthy, and then I kind of got to the end, and then I was thinking about it. When I finished, I was going to then just shut down my PS4 and go to bed, but I started thinking about that mission. I was like, yeah, but what about that? I wonder if you could go that. I wonder if it allowed you to. And so I just thought, right, I'm going to play it again, but this time I went all guns blazing, and had just as much fun, and it was just fantastic. It was just really good, and I love the fact that there's a game that you finish a story, you finish a mission, and then you instantly just want to play it again, but try something different. And I just hats off to a game that makes you feel
and
that
looks so beautiful, and that controls so well and feels so just a joy to control the guy. I love controlling Snake, the protagonist. I just love it. I mean, there's a few little gripes I've got, like if you're prone, so if you're crawling on your belly and you got to the edge of a cliff, you can't sort of like fall off the edge. It blocks you, so you'd have to crouch to get down, which can be quite annoying in some situations, but you just got to adapt. So there's a few little things like that. The horse gets stuck on a rock occasionally, but they are just so insignificant compared to what the game is. And the fact, the way that it's more that, the missions, that it's just like, right, do this from there. That's your mission. And it's just the fact that the way that the engine and the AI works together, it's as if it's kind of like a chess game in a way. It's like, you could imagine that they could give you a construction set for it, and you could because the AI works so well, you just put, it's just an empty map, and you just put these installations, you just drop them in, and you drop a few people, and you just put their routes, their patrol routes in there, and you say, right, well, there's a puzzle for the gamer. And because they react so well to everything you can think of, you've just got such an array of options. And I mean, I've hardly touched the surface with the kit and the technology that you can get, but the way that you can approach it, it just makes it a pleasure to gallop up on your horse and hang on the side, which I just really love. And then you go up into the mountains. It's like you're in a western or something, and then you drop from the horse, and everything just looks so stylish. And then you get into your binoculars and you just scout the place, and you mark each person. And in some games, I'd find that a chore. But it's sort of a delight in this game, and you're watching them and you're studying, and then I just sit back and I'm like stroking my chin and I'm thinking, okay, I almost think I'm there. I'm like, right, how are we going to tackle this? You got this guy here, I can see he's doing that. Now what I could do is I could go around there, now look at that. And it's just, I don't know, I sort of not felt so drawn in by a game. I can't even remember when. And so because of this kind of design, that it's not linear, which a lot of games would be, to sort of give you these action sequences that you sort of make up yourself, it makes it more gripping because you're making your own story. You're making your own heroic extraction of someone or heroic elimination of someone. You're making the cutscenes, or they're not cutscenes, but you're making up the action. You're making the adventure yourself, and it's kind of unparalleled in that. I got surrounded by guys. I'd done this thing. I'd been sneaking up for ages. I'd spent so long meticulously calculating the route I was going to take, and I'd slowly taken people out. Got you, up he goes, got you, up he goes, getting closer and closer to my objective. And I made a mistake. I got seen or something. I got that white light, and I just hid down in the grass and pressed triangle to go into that extra stealth mode. You've seen that, haven't you?
I have, yeah. I love that, because especially I'm playing it with headphones as well, and then the
audible cue when you get seen. Yeah.
So
I was there,
good.
And he's there, hunkered down, like just still, and then the music changes. It's like. And I was like that at home. And Claire was next to me. She was completely silent, right? And we didn't dare move, right? And I just kept still, and they came closer, and it's like, fuck, sugar, what's going on? And they dispersed, right? To cut a long story short, I'm getting too excited. They dispersed, but I went, flipping heck. I couldn't believe it, proper, totally into it. And Claire said I couldn't breathe then. She said I could not breathe then. And it's like, you make your own adventure. It's amazing.
It really is. It really is. I was playing last night when I was playing one of the missions. I was kind of laying down, and there was guys kind of coming close to me, and I was following him with my trank gun. I had my trank gun out, and I was following him, and he kind of went behind me, so I just kept following him. And then Snake just turned over on his back. And he was still following this guy with his gun kind of prone. And
I
his
love
gun
that.
out.
Yeah, when he does that, it's so cool.
That's genius. Because normally that would be it. You wouldn't be able to get around
Massive
that way.
fiddle. You wouldn't be able to turn, and you'd end up alerting him because you're trying to dither with the controls.
Exactly. And I was just like, when I saw that, I was just like, that's just genius. That is just amazing. It's such a small, tiny little thing, but it just really felt natural. And one of the, the other aesthetic that I'm really enjoying is that each mission, when you finish it, it's almost like an end of an episode. It's like an episode of 24 or something, because you get credits.
Yeah.
You get kind of, and it's just, genius. Hideo Kojima he is a genius, and it does. Already playing it, it's quite funny. I had kind of almost a you moment, because I started playing it when I really got into it. I was like, oh, this is going to be over soon. This is such a shame, and I was just like, no, I've got hours, days, months still to play on this, and it was just, it's fantastic. It's lovely that we're having games that are not only looking stunning, but we're having games that are really kind of living up to that hype.
Yeah, the hype of the next generation and pushing the envelope. I mean, this is beyond all expectation for me. I mean, I haven't tested the AI every which way yet, but the reviews I've read have said that, everything whatever they conceivably thought of using the tech that they're armed with, the equipment that they've got, and what the effect should be from the AI guys. Really, 99%, it was always like that. Whatever they thought, and it would play out the way that they thought it would in the real world. And I have not had that. It's always so far it's happened that way for me every time. But I haven't got loads of tech to try it out with. I got this kind of balloon decoy thing the other day, and I used it once, but then I forgot. I'd got it, so I didn't use it for ages. And then I realised, because I was too busy throwing my magazine as a way of distracting them. Because at first I was only using my knock tool. Because you with prosthetic knock you can do to draw them closer. And I was getting frustrated, and I was like, I need them to go away, not come close, because when there's two together, I don't want them both to hear and come close, because I can't handle two in stealth.
Yes.
And then I thought, right, because I'm a bit weird, me, with games. It's like, I was like, I'm not going to use that magazine. It looks rubbish. It's not right. All I'm going to use is the tranquilizer gun and creeping up and choking him. That's all I'm going to do, because I'm hardcore. And then I'm sort of like, look, this is ridiculous. That magazine's there to be used. Let's just give it a go. Just drop your pride, you idiot, and try it. So I was like, okay, I'll use this new tool. And it's just like, it's a godsend. So I would recommend wholeheartedly using the empty magazine. It's just like a stone, really. You throw it, it makes a noise, and they go. And I was like, yeah, that's really cool. And sometimes with games with different weapons, and I mean, this one's got loads, but other games with just different weapons, I sort of get set in my ways. Whatever I'm given, I'll sort of just stick with. Do you know what I mean? For instance, with Gears, I'm not interested in any of the other weapons. I really love just the default gun. though that is an amazing gun. But a lot of
if I lose my cog rifle in Gears, it feels wrong. It feels weird. I always try and instantly find another one.
It's just a hunt, isn't it, to get to the next cog,
it really is.
cog rifle. But yeah, there's just so much that I could say about this game that's amazing me at the moment, and I'm only a little bit in. But like you said there about having a moment where you think, oh no, I don't want it to end. I'm already there, and that's partly why I'm playing the missions again to get better, because my stealth sucks. I want to get better because I'm sure that you're able to ace levels with stealth. My grades aren't very good. I think the highest I've got is a C. So it's to get better, but it's also just to kind of, part of me, I know how good this is already, and I just want to elongate the experience. And by getting, I don't feel that I'm repeating it just for the sake of it. It doesn't feel like a grind. I'm doing it for my own choice, and I'm happy to put more hours in, because I think this is what you must have been like with Batman. I think I'm head over heels over this game, man. I'm absolutely loving it. Maybe it'll change as I get further in. I looked at my percent completion. I'm 8% in.
That's just so good, isn't it? It's like, and that's what I mean. Where we have these games where we're happy to be 8% in. That's all we want to be. We don't want to be any more, because they are just. This is a pure epic. After Batman, I really thought that I would have a tough time with the rest of the games that are coming out this year, but instantly I am just like, there was a new AR pack that dropped as part of the season pass for Batman the other day. I'm like, I'm not even bothered with that in the moment. I just want to play Metal Gear. It's very cool. How are you? What are you doing with sound? What do you do in your gaming setup for sound? Do you have it on surround sound, on speakers?
Yeah, I've got a 5.1 amp setup, which does all the latest Dolby Pro Logic THX, all that stuff. So I've got 5.1. The reason I've never evolved to 7.1 is I find having two speakers in the middle, two sides, has never been convenient for me. So I just have the two at the front, two at the back and the centre. But I thought, this was a little gripe. I thought it was a bit indulgent that you can't change the sound and the music effects. Did you notice that? No,
but I was, what I was alluding to is that I'm loving the sound. When you run, when you start running, it just sounds so good. It changes, as if the wind is, because obviously there's wind kind of gushing around these plains of Afghanistan, and then the moment you start running or you start galloping with the horse, the sound just changes instantly. And you can hear. Well, there was one level where there was a helicopter, and I've got my surround sound headphones on, and even when I had it kind of playing out of the speakers in the movie room, it was going around. This helicopter was going around my room, and it's just fantastic. I think the sound alone, kind of deserves a nod, because it just has everything right. It's just got everything kind of spot on.
The only thing I did find a bit wrong was during that introduction stage when all the explosions were going off. I found that was so much louder than the normal gunfire and the speaking, that I'd got my volume quite high to hear the talking, and I was like, okay, I got to turn this down, sort of thing. And that was when I went to the menu, because I usually will turn the sound effects down a little more than the vocals, but there wasn't an option. That wasn't sort of split out. It was just sort of, I don't know what it was. It was nothing really. It was just said sound on or off or something, subtitles on or off. But it didn't give you that option. I was a bit surprised about that. But having said that I haven't had a problem with that ever since playing the game true, if you like. Everything that's happened has been perfect. Oh, and didn't you love the fact that you couldn't understand what people were saying until a certain moment, and then it fixed it?
Yes.
That was pretty cool.
Yes.
I was trying not to spoil it. It's not really a spoiler, but even so, it's a nice surprise, that.
It was genius, because it was so funny on the first couple of missions. I was just thinking, I can't understand a word of this. How am I going to know their patrols? How am I going to know if they've spotted me or they're just generally angry? And then obviously something happened, and it's just, I just loved it. I just think it's really good. I mean, obviously there is one thing that strikes me as just a little bit perturbing, and is the fact that multiplayer is broken still.
Yeah,
it's been out a week and multiplayer is still broken. When you go into Metal Gear, you have to wade through screen after screen of, we're down, this is our fix path, this is what we're doing, this is our maintenance schedule. you have to go through screen after screen. I want to get to the good stuff, give me that good, and you have to go with, sorry, we're down, this is not working, this is broken. But nobody's talking about it. And I think, potentially no one's talking about it because the single player is so good and no one wants anyone to attack anyone's mother base because it's because you get it just as you like it. But nobody's talking about this kind of broken online. And like I say, I don't know if it is because it's so good. I mean, when the Master Chief Collection was broken, obviously that stopped you playing co-op as well. But when the Master Chief was broken, everybody was in an uproar. They wanted to burn Xbox Ones and everything. But Metal Gear Solid seems to be getting a bit of a free pass.
Yeah, and something? It's strange, but I'm sort of siding with you here because I want everyone to be quiet and don't complain because I don't want them to fix it. Because I don't want to be randomly invaded. Because I'm only just getting my head around what the hell's going on with my mother base at the moment and all the staff and what you can do with them. I've just started to be able to deploy them actually to do their own missions to get resources and stuff. So I haven't really got that attachment, but I think you might get that attachment. In fact, they maybe, and maybe you can do it, maybe you can't, I don't know yet. But if you could name your guys that you get as well, that'd make it even more of a personal connection. But from what I've heard...
But those guys are weird, though. In the mother base, those guys want you to beat them up.
Yeah, they are a bit weird like that.
It's a bit strange, isn't it? It's just like, you beat them up, and then, and they go, thanks very much. And it's just like, you're
Thank
weird,
you, sir. May I have another? It's really
Yes.
bad.
I mean, but, the problems with Metal Gear have not only online. Yesterday, one of the messages that popped up, and also on Twitter as well, was that there is a save corruption bug in Metal Gear Solid 5, and that is, for our guys, because we don't want anyone to kind of lose your save, but to avoid this save corruption, you don't take Quiet, who's a character I haven't met yet, but you don't take Quiet as a buddy on either mission 29 or 42. And this is affecting all platforms. So PC, PS3, PlayStation 4, Xbox 360 and Xbox One. Don't take Quiet on mission 29 or 42 because it will just corrupt your save file. There was a report yesterday of a guy who's played 115 hours of Metal Gear Solid and took Quiet on one of those missions and his entire thing. Obviously, with PlayStation, you could, and also I guess with Xbox as well, you could save your save to the cloud, or you could also put it in a USB key, a USB stick if you wanted to just back it up. But like at the moment, Konami are trying to fix it, but you've just got to kind of stay away from 29 and 42 with Quiet.
Yeah, it's always advisable in a massive game like this just to have a backup save anyway, isn't it? But it's a bad bug, but at least they found it. And it's terrible for people that have got there already. But for people like us that haven't got the luxury of putting 115 hours in a week, it's kind of, it'll be fixed by the time I get there, I imagine.
By the time I get to 29 or meet Quiet, then
I did hear something about Quiet, because you know how when you got your binoculars on someone, it's got the microphone, and you can eavesdrop on the guards chatting. And there was a conversation. Yes. I heard a conversation between two of them, a rumour that someone had seen a ghost. And it sounded like they were talking about Quiet. Said it was a ghost of a woman, and she moved so fast. And I was like, oh, that's Quiet. Does that mean I'm going to meet her at the end of the mission? No, it doesn't mean that at all. Not in that mission anyway. I was all excited thinking this was going to be the mission with an introduction of like a new buddy. But no, I think I might be way off that. But it's something that you should definitely be aware of, everybody. But I sort of know it'll be patched before I get there. Not because I'm rubbish, but just because... and not because
you're taking your time. You're taking your time. You're enjoying
savouring
it.
Like fine wine.
Like a fine wine.
I'm giving it some time to breathe, which I don't give to the guards, obviously. Hey, what was I going to say about it then? There's no excuse for the online aspect being broken. I mean, I'm sort of glad because I'm against the microtransactions aspect that we discussed in our last podcast. So I'm sort of happy because I'm so happy with the game that I wouldn't want a part of this multiplayer if it's intrusive into my single player experience, and I don't really want to get involved. I don't want it to sort of ruin or just sort of have an effect on my single player game. So while it's all down because it's such a great game because everybody's playing it all the time, I'm sort of like, good. you can all leave my base alone, because I believe that the way it works is you can be randomly invaded. And I don't want to be randomly invaded unless I sort of choose to enter that fray, if you like. So, and the game hasn't actually told me much about this yet. I mean, maybe it explains more as you progress, like it, because it does seem to be delivering more and more as you play through. And maybe there is an option. It says, "Do you want to get involved in this aspect?" And you could say yes or no. I really don't know, but because I'd be saying no until probably I'd play through until I felt a lot more confident that I was understanding the management of the resources of the mother base, because I haven't really got to a stage where I think that even that has been completely rounded out to me yet. But at that stage, then I'd say, okay, I choose to sort of have a dabble in that. But at the moment, I'd rather not. So first of all, I'd like to say it's not right that it's broken if that's part of the game, but it kind of suits me because I don't want that part of the game involving me, if that makes sense.
Yes.
So I'm sort of happy about it from a selfish point of view, but from a product point of view, if it's part of the product, it should be there and working as it should for all games, because, these problems are coming up more and more, like, you said it with Disney Infinity. But maybe it gets a bit of a free pass because the single player is so awesome, as you said, and because this part of the online experience the game's just so rewarding in itself, it doesn't matter. People aren't looking for that extra because they're so wrapped up in the world. And there's also the Metal Gear Online that's going to come out in October.
Yeah, I completely forgot about that. But I remember they had trailers at E3, didn't they, of Metal Gear Online, where they had him kind of coming in and kind of some big kind of walker thing that looked like an AT-ST from Star Wars. Yeah. And so, that's coming. So when is that coming?
October. Mid-October, I think, yeah. So
wow.
That's and that happened. They followed the same model with MGS4 on PS3, where the game came out, and then a few months later, the online portion came out, and I had a few goes on it, but I don't know. I just probably because I was rubbish, I just stopped. Or there was another game. Probably just that there was another game. So it seems that they're following that model, and it's kind of good because it gives everybody a chance to learn how to play and understand the many facets of the game. And from what I'm seeing on the internet and what I'm trying to avoid on the internet, there's just so many things hidden. There's loads of Easter eggs. There's loads of Easter eggs hidden in there. I saw something. I read a headline and I just skipped it, and it said like Easter egg, rescue Kojima from somewhere, and I was like, oh, that sounds awesome, but I want to find it myself. I'm going to play through the whole thing myself, absolutely, without any flipping things saying go here, do this, X, Y, Z. I want to do the whole thing on my own, blind. It's the way I always play games like Dark Souls, Demon Souls, etc. Play it blind. Probably miss loads of stuff, and then I'll have a look what I missed. And usually there's like a book worth, and in this one I think we're going to get encyclopedias worth of content that we missed. But then you can enjoy going and doing all the missions and doing all this stuff.
Yes, absolutely. One of the things I tried last night for the first time was when I was playing through that mission and I was going all guns blazing, I ran out of bullets. And one of the things that you can do is you can kind of just get somewhere kind of nice and quiet, and you can drop a supply drop in, which is really cool. One of the things I did was there was a countdown, obviously, when the supply drop was kind of being parachuted in. Don't stand by that countdown because it does take you out. It just kind of, this box landed on my head and I just kind of went flat out. It was such a great moment. It was like quite tense because I was waiting for it and it was coming and you could feel it. And then it just kind of just dunked me on the head. So
it's so exciting.
Quite funny. I've also got a speaker in my helicopter as well. I've fitted my helicopter as a speaker so I can play all of the sounds or the songs that I find. So I was playing that kind of mid-Euro David Bowie song, and I was playing that, and by all accounts, I was listening to a podcast and they were saying that they had that playing whilst it was coming to pick them up. So you can actually kind of have, you can have that song or the other songs that you kind of pick up as you kind of steal cassette tapes. You can have those playing as the helicopters come to pick you up. Oh wow, what a great
feature. That's the best feature for that, because I find I sort of got Rebel Yell, for instance, and I thought, I like that tune, so I'll play it. But it completely ruined the atmosphere of me trying to sneak up on the guys. So I think maybe I'll play a tune if I'm sort of marauding in a tank. But as for playing a mission for the first time, it sort of like just changed the atmosphere completely. It was weird.
So you can have, as you're being picked up, you can have like
awesome.
fly of Valkyries. That's just like I thought that was a really cool little touch. It's in one of the when you're in your mother base and you're upgrading your helicopter.
One of the customizations. Yeah, I saw it and I ummed and ahed about it, but there didn't seem anything that I'd get out of it. I was like, why do I want this speaker? Because it says it's unproved whether it affects whatever it was supposed to do. It says.
Well, it says it lowers the morale of the enemy and raises the morale of your team because, I thought it was quite a nice little touch.
I sort of read that and I was like, yeah, that's not good enough. But now you said that, I think I'm going to go and buy it. So I didn't buy it, but I think I'm going to. And, you said about a supply drop, right? So my brilliant supply drop moment happened last night. I would run out of Fultons and my mindset was, listen, I want to Fulton everything. So I was like, yeah, I'll do the supply drop. Doesn't matter that it costs GMP that I don't like spending. Let's do it. So I spent my money and I put it right on top of myself and just waited and then saw it on the map, coming closer. I put a marker on it as well so that I could see it when I wasn't in the map and it was coming closer and closer and closer. I was like, and then it dropped and I was like, classic. Right. So then I walked out and I was like, I didn't sort of see it. Maybe it just picked it up and I didn't notice. So I went to go and Fulton something and I still had 0 Fultons. I was like, what's going on? So I looked on my map and the marker was still there. So I went all the way back. And when I asked for the drop, I was actually in sort of a little, it had a little roof on it. And the damn crate landed on the roof. And there was no ladder. There was no ladder and no boxes. It was a roof that you couldn't get to. And I was like, oh, great. It's stuck up there and I can't get it. And I could see the crate through the sort of like semi-transparent camouflage stuff. And I was like, oh, that's brilliant, but I'm annoyed. And I didn't do another supply drop. I was in a sulk, so I just kind of carried on the mission without it. But I just thought it's just class. So yeah, absolutely loving this game.
Yeah, no, it's absolutely fantastic. I just, I can't wait to get back onto it. And like I say, I've got, a week until Forza comes out, which is kind of the next game for me. But even when that does come out, Forza is that, as I've said time and time again, it's my kind of Saturday morning game. It's my listening to a podcast game. So that's
like a quick fix game, isn't it? And I'm happy because I've got like Resogun to play and Metal Gear at the moment. And I'm just thinking this is a great partnership. By the way, I don't know whether you've probably seen this. It's probably glaringly obvious, but have you noticed when you see the Fox Engine logo at the start, there's the picture of like Kojima's fox sort of bending over. Have you noticed that there's like a picture of a rabbit in his stomach? No. I'm sure that it looks like there's how it's there's the outline of the fox, and then inside there's like another shape. And to me, I'm sure that was like a picture of a rabbit as if he's eating it. Have a look.
Wow.
Have a look.
I'm going to check that out this evening when I've booted
it up. Might just be me freaking out, but
That's
I think
weird.
it's sort of like there as a subliminal thing. And I thought, is this just obvious or is it worth mentioning? So have a look, see if you can see. I think there's a rabbit drawn in his stomach.
I think you're going mad, but that was a given anyway. So that's kind of that's our Metal Gear Solid section out of the way. So let's have a chat about the news. And in this week's news, we're talking about Gaming World Records, a new gaming Wonderland that's been announced, and yet another awesome remaster. And that kind of first awesome remaster that's coming out, and that's one with me, and that's Castle Crashers. So the great button bash-tastic Castle Crashers is coming out this week. I think it's actually out now on Xbox One. And so if the great thing about this Castle Crashers remaster, it's the same thing again. It's the kind of 1080, 60 frames a second. I can't see how that's going to matter with Castle Crashers, but I'm sure the 60 frames will make it a lot smoother. Updated textures, some new content as well. And the great thing about this, and the reason why we've kind of stuck it on our news section, is that if you bought that original on Xbox 360, you can download it from free. So from now, which is the 9th of September, until the 20th of September, you can download Castle Crashers Remastered for free. If you don't do it before then, I think there's like a £5 deduction if you do it after that. But Behemoth, the maker of Castle Crashers, also said that the Xbox 360 version is coming out as backward compatible as well. So if you don't want to kind of just get those extra textures, and why would you? It's free from now until the 20th of September. But if you don't, it's actually coming out on backwards compatibility later in the kind of fall. But I just thought, have you played Castle Crashers, Darren? Did you play it when it came out?
I didn't get that involved. I played the demo and I thought it was all right, but it didn't sway me to buy it. Probably because at the time I wasn't really. I didn't have 4 people to sort of play with.
Yes, it's definitely one that you need
little lonely man that I
am. It's definitely one that you need to kind of get a lot of people kind of playing it. I played it a bit with my nephews. I didn't play a lot of it because we only kind of hooked up a couple of times, and then they kind of continued playing without me. And then when we came back, they had just these. They'd leveled up their castle crashes, so to such a point where I was just kind of at the back, just watching them destroy everything. But it's just good fun, you know. It's just such a laugh. It's such a great game. I'm going to download it because it's free. Looks fantastic, and maybe I'll get the guys to kind of download it, and we can have a bit of a game.
Yeah, and you can level up with them this time.
Exactly. Yeah, get them to start again. I think I've got my save in the cloud. It's quite funny. I'm keeping hold of my 360 at the moment because I just keep, whenever these games come out, I want to just kind of quickly go over and just stick my save in the cloud.
Yeah. It's a prudent thing to do because I've sort of don't really play my 360 at all now. But what I did was I logged into my dad's and just gave him everything that I got, you know, because you can do that on like so many 360s of your families. So I just like logged in and I was like, right, just have these games that I'm not going to play anymore. He doesn't play them anyway, but I just thought maybe you'd want to. And it was just handy that the save games that I had in the cloud were ready. So when I play a game there, it's just all there. It really is great. You know, it's like a home from home in a way for your gaming. It works really well to have your saves in the cloud. And the good thing is with Microsoft is I've never run out of space for cloud saves. I don't know if there's a limit on that, but I've never run out of space. Whereas up till very recently, the PS4 cloud saving was restricted to quite a low amount, and I was always getting messages on my PS4 saying, you know, your cloud space is full, and there was never an option to switch it on or off on certain games. But I think with the recent update, they've extended it to 10 gig, so it's gonna solve that problem for a lot of people. Just thought I'd add that while you're mentioning cloud saves.
Yeah, fantastic. That's really cool.
Cool. Yeah, and I suppose the next thing is with me, the next item's with myself, and that's look out Disneyland, because Ubisoft's right on your tail, as they've announced. Ubisoft have announced a theme park that's going to be built in Kuala Lumpur in Malaysia in the year 2020. It's going to be situated inside, so it's going to be an indoor complex over 10,000 square metres, and it's going to include shows, rides, and other attractions. In inverted
this
colours.
Is bonkers, isn't it? This is absolutely. I mean, it's fantastic, but it's bonkers. It's absolutely just kind of. I want to go on the Assassin's Creed game where you can scale up walls and take out someone with whatever that thing is that the assassins have attached to them.
Oh yeah, the wrist blade, if you like. I bet it's got a better name than that. If it, you know. What's his name? I can't think of a single assassin.
Maybe you'll be able to buy like Enzio kebabs or something.
Ezio, that's who I was thinking. Yeah.
Where you have like on your kind of wrist blade, you have like some meats that are you can just eat it off your wrist.
Yeah.
I just think this is just. I think obviously it could be because we had earlier in the year Nintendo announced that they're going to have some in. I think it was either Disney or Universal that they're going to introduce some of those, and we were getting very excited about a Mario Kart ride or something like that, or maybe a Luigi's Mansion. So it's just, I think it's fantastic. Well done, Ubisoft.
Yeah, well, if it's good, they must be looking to spend a lot of cash on this, and I suppose this could, if it is good, then I'll be like, okay, your Assassin's Creed sales are justified. If this is what you're going to spend all your money on for bringing those games out and all the people that have bought them, then I'm happy. So what kind of thing would they have there, I was thinking they could have a Beyond Good and Evil land. That could be quite nice to sort of walk around. Prince of Persia ride. I don't know how that would work, but I just like the idea of it. Or Tom Clancy Laser Quest. That'd be pretty cool.
That would be awesome, wouldn't it?
Wouldn't that be really cool? So you have a briefing and that first, and so,
I'm sold.
So like Rainbow Six, Laser Quest, or whatever. I think that was probably the best idea I had. And then they'll throw those rabbids in, won't they? Those raving rabbids. That'll be something for the children.
Yes, yeah. I mean, they're almost kind of minion-esque, aren't they, from Despicable Me? So they would have, you could imagine like a stop motion 3D ride with the rabbids kind of all over it. And I just think that would be, just fantastic. They could have a Far Cry 3 kind of stop motion ride, or a Far Cry 3 mode where you're going through the desert or you're going through the jungles. There could be some really good stuff, really.
They've got a good back catalogue. There's no question of it. They've done really well from where they started, which was, well, they built their foundations on these games that didn't cost a lot to make. They weren't necessarily that good, but they did sell. And the Rayman game, for instance, obviously there'll be something to do with Rayman there. So yeah, it could be good, couldn't it?
Absolutely, and who knows what they have in store with new franchises between now and 2020 as well. They could be bringing some new stuff out just to kind of try and coincide with that theme park.
Absolutely, it'll all be in the pipeline, won't it? I'd love to see sort of an estimate on the cost of implementing something like that. It must be phenomenal.
Absolutely. I mean, it's quite funny. These little kind of theme parks are popping up all over the globe now. We've got one. There's a new one that's coming to Kent. To kind of London and to the southeast soon. I say soon. It's probably about 2020 as well. And that's another Universal Land. Similar to, and it's going to have Marvel. It's going to have all of that kind of info. And that's just like, that sounds quite interesting.
That's really exciting to get something like that in Old Blighty. That's brilliant.
Absolutely, it's going to be about kind of 45 minutes away from me. It's not far from a place called Blue Water, which is a big shopping centre, and they've got kind of plans to do something there. So there's kind of more and more of these kind of theme parks are popping up all over the place. I mean, we have that, and we also have Star Wars Land is coming to Florida as well, isn't it? They're having something like that. So there's just it's great fun.
Yeah,
I'd love to be a kid again. Oh, I am a kid again, but I'd love to be a kid again, if you know what I mean.
We are men, children, definitely. So if you
absolutely,
I mean, I don't want to put you on the spot here, but this is an open question to anybody. I wonder what would be your favourite theme park that could be opened. If you were going to pick one, whether it be a games publisher which has broke the mould, or just anything. Anything that you really love. What would your favourite sort of theme park be?
I guess Disney are kind of going quite close with Star Wars
because they're acquiring everything. It's all just getting in there, isn't it? So that's fantastic. Yeah. And they've got Marvel as well.
Indeed, I went to Florida a couple of years ago when I turned 40, and and we went to Universal, and we spent a long time in Universal. We even went back, and for me, they had the Minions, they had Harry Potter, there was a Spider-Man ride, there was a Hulk theme, and I loved those 3D stop motion rides, and the Harry Potter stuff was fantastic. So to kind of have all of that, and also like Star Wars just kind of almost kind of coming to life, that would just be fantastic. What about you?
Yeah, when you put it like that, really, Disney have got it. They've already got everything that I could dream of already. So as long as Star Wars Land sort of comes to life, I mean, yeah, if they brought a Nintendo Land out and it sort of really made you feel that you were in sort of Mario's world somehow, that'd be pretty special.
Yes, yes.
So yeah, if that kind of thing came out and it was just really magical and made you forget your worries and cares, then that'd be pretty cool. But just the amount of IPs that Disney own now, and I'm sure they're not going to stop with their pursuit of more. I think they're probably just going to, one by one, just check off all the boxes of all my stuff that gets me excited.
Yeah, can I have a petting zoo that's turned into a Viva Pinata Land?
Yay! Of course you can, sir.
Someone's got pigs and they staple paper onto the pigs. Oh, jeez. No, that's we got dark very quickly. Right, so the next piece of news is with me, and it's over in Microsoft. Now, last week, Microsoft announced a new Elite bundle, as they always do with the consoles, kind of after year one, year two, they start coming out with new consoles. I think the Elite console was on the 360. It was the first one that had HDMI. So they were always used to, so they always used to bringing out these SKUs, and they brought out a brand new Xbox One Elite bundle, and it's pretty sexy. It's a matte finish. It comes with one of those Elite controllers, which is all kind of customizable, and the triggers at the back. But it also comes with, which is quite interesting, it comes with a 1 terabyte solid state hybrid drive. So this is kind of a hybrid drive that just allows performance and optimizes system performance. And they're saying that it's actually 20% faster from energy saving mode as well.
Wow.
So it's kind of one of those things where I think what they've done is they've partitioned so this is like I say, it's 1 terabyte, and part of the drive is partitioned for this, for frequently accessed files and things like that. So you can imagine game saves and things like that are just that they just load a lot quicker. I mean, I've said before on this podcast, I've got a 2 terabyte solid state drive, and I noticed that when Nicola and I start a game at the same time, I've noticed that my games that come off of a hard drive actually load in quicker than hers.
Wow. Well, that's all about the speed, isn't it? And it's a bit like
it really is.
It's a bit like what we were talking about with discs when we were talking about the NX not having rumoured to not have an optical drive. It's like, that's really, really slow anyway, and the consoles these days aren't reading off the disc anyway because the read speeds aren't fast enough. It's got to go on the drive anyway because that's the disc. Your optical disc drive's becoming a bottleneck. So it makes perfect sense if you want better games, if you want the FPS. Excuse me, if you want the frames per second, if you want the games to run at these blistering speeds, then you need to eliminate all the bottlenecks and everything's got to be as fast as possible. It makes perfect sense. It always makes me sad though, because I'll always have the first iteration of a console, and they're always going to bring out this more refined version. So I've always got a bit of a wobbly lips. I was going,
but that's it. I mean, it's quite funny because I did see a lot of comments on this. On Major Nelson, I had a post about it, and I saw lots of comments going, "Oh, that's not fair. I bought one from day one." But that's what you get for being an early adopter.
Yeah.
I'm a complete early adopter in everything, and the things I'm interested in, and I am. You always kind of bitten this way, but this is a better console, but it also they're still doing the same one, the one that you've got. Apart from you've got a day one, which is quite nice. It's got the little day one on your controller. But also they announced that they're also bringing out a Lunar White wireless controller that's going to be, it is exclusively available for our US listeners at GameStop, and this is a white controller. It's got a gold kind of crosshair. Even the buttons, the Y, X, A and B, they're all white as well. It's got little dots. It's got kind of gold triggers. So they're bringing that controller out as well. It looks quite nice. And yesterday, AC Bongos had quite a nice little kind of unboxing of the new Forza controller. And that's got a really cool grip that's almost like gripping a steering wheel, and that's blue. It's the same colour as the Ford GT, the cover car. So Microsoft are really bringing out a lot of these controllers. You could have a right bevy of controllers if you were that way inclined.
Yeah, absolutely. Does it have a price for this new bundle?
Yes, it does. It's $399.99 with the Elite wireless controller.
Yeah, because the Elite's £100 odd quid on its own, isn't it?
Absolutely, and the Lunar White, I'm not sure where it's going to be sold in the UK, but like I say, it's GameStop exclusive in the US, but it could be via the Microsoft store, but that's going to be $54.99.
Ah, cool. And you did pacify me with your argument, because we had this discussion early on when we started doing the podcast, and I remember I was moaning about bringing out new consoles and stuff, and when you said the argument before, you've converted me, because I absolutely agree that, you're not getting this new fancy one, and it's like, I used to be of the mind, well, I want you to get to let me part exchange mine for a really cheap price and all this rubbish. But you put it quite succinctly when you said, but you've had like 2 years of gaming goodness on that console. Would you trade that off? Would I wait 2 years for this one and not have played on the original? No way. And that's
absolutely,
you paid your money and you makes your choice, don't you? And that's it. And I think when you said that to me, I was sort of like, something. Because I'm always happy to. I'll if I hear a good argument, I'm not sort of set in stone. That I won't be changed from what I think. And when you said that, I thought, you're right. I would much rather have, because I'm passionate about gaming. This is what I really believe in. I love my hobby. Of course I'm going to step in here, and I wouldn't change that. So that's just the way it is. If I wanted to wait, or if some people would just buy one anyway. I'm not one of those people. But I think it's absolutely right. I've enjoyed playing on my next gen console for coming up to 2 years. So I'm happy, and I wouldn't have it any other way.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think a lot of people
smart's a bit, but that's
Well, exactly. I mean, but there are some people that would take that console, they'd go to game, they'd trade that in for one of those new ones. You could do that, and then you're just paying that little bit extra, maybe like an extra £100 to get that new controller and a new console, maybe. I don't know what the Xbox One's going for at game as
50p.
A part exchange. Yeah.
And that's not a slur on the Xbox One, that's a slur at game's second-hand prices.
Yeah, but you could do something like that, if that really kind of, if you really wanted that nice matte. But I must admit, the matte is quite sexy. It's very lovely.
That's not a bad idea, I wonder how much an Xbox One goes for on eBay. Because if you're paying £100 for the console with the Elite, you may as well do that instead of buying an Elite.
Yeah, absolutely. If it was just that,
if it did turn out that it was £100, £120, something like that, then it would actually, and if you were determined to get an Elite, it would maybe just make sense. I mean, I don't know the price, I'm not going to look now, but if you can sell an Xbox One for $250 with to $300, I don't know what they go for, but I suppose it wouldn't go for that. But it just could make sense. That's all I'm saying. Yeah, it's a good point.
No, absolutely. And you could actually get your new controller, get your new Xbox, and not pay too much to it. Do you know what? I'm just on Games website now. I know you kind of like balked at them just then, but
they're all right, really. But
I don't know if it's kind of giving me kind of what I am. There, I can't find it in the trading. So anyway, next piece of news is with you, sir.
Ah, yes, indeed it is. And this piece of news is about ex-Bungie composer Marty O'Donnell. And he's won a settlement after claiming he was fired without cause in April 2014. And I remember reading about him filing this case when it happened, and I was a bit sad that he got fired because, and I mean, I don't know the ins and outs of it. I don't know if he's the good guy in this. I don't know if he's the bad guy in this. All I know is that there were some Halo trailers. It was like a behind the scenes of Halo. It might have been Halo 2 or 3. And I've tried to find the clip and I can't find it. But basically, it was talking to this guy, this Marty O'Donnell, and he composed the music. He wrote the tune for Halo, and I loved the score to Halo so much. It's for me, and it's like, and in this clip, Marty O'Donnell sort of just succinctly says it so well. He just says it's all about the drama, and the music is the drama. That's where the drama comes from. And when I first watched this, it was as I was getting on the hype train for whichever iteration it was, 2 or 3. And he kind of played it on his piano. He went, ding, 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 like that. And he just went, it's all about the drama, and the drama is the music. And I was like, that's not word for word. But I was like, yes, you're absolutely right. When I hear that theme, I love that theme. That to me is Halo. Without the music, without the sound, it wouldn't be the same game to me. So when I saw that this had happened...
But did you, about that, about my kind of Marty O'Donnell, you didn't play the Master Chief Collection, did you, on Xbox One?
No, I didn't know.
No, because in that there is Vidocs, I believe they call them. There's lots of Vidocs about Marty O'Donnell, about how he came up with the music for Halo and Halo 2.
Oh, wow.
And some of them are just absolutely. They may even be up on Halo Waypoint. There's an app on the Xbox One that takes you straight to Halo Waypoint. You don't have to have the Master Chief Collection. But they had some fantastic ones about kind of behind the music and how he almost came up with it kind of off the cuff. And there's some really good stuff on there. And Marty O'Donnell does look like he's a good chap.
Yeah, well, that's the way he struck me. I mean, obviously we don't know the guy, but he's been with them since 10 days before Microsoft bought them. He's been with Bungie, and they'd contracted him before that to work on projects, including the project that would become Halo Combat Evolved. So he's been with Halo since the very beginning. He joined Bungie 10 days before the studio was bought by Microsoft, and was the audio director for all Bungie projects up until the time that he was fired. And so I've seen a bits and pieces in the news, but basically there's been a settlement made for him. So he's won, and it's a profit sharing settlement that he's going to get, which is going to pay him for the use of his music in Destiny. The first instalment of which will be $142,500. And that's the first instalment of it being used, because it's going to be used for the lifetime of Destiny. And Destiny's lifetime is estimated at about 10 years, so he's going to get more payouts as it goes. He also got another payout. He got another payout which was $95,000 for unpaid work plus damages after being fired, and they also took his shares away, but they returned his shares as part of that settlement, even though Bungie said that it would cause the composer to become a bothersome presence at board meetings. Which I thought was quite funny. So they said that, but they begrudgingly gave him his shares back. But all this seems to have happened because when Activision got involved with Destiny, and I don't know, did you ever read an article or two that seemed to indicate that what we first saw that the Destiny was supposed to be, I don't know if you agree or not, but to me, what Destiny ended up being wasn't what it was. It wasn't the same as how it was sold when it was first announced. I was expecting much more of a story-driven game. Yeah, it was going to be multiplayer and stuff, but there was going to be this. It was going to be like a Halo standard story, and by that I don't mean average standard. I mean it was going to be of the standard of Halo, which personally I think is really good. That kind of big story, and we were all going to be involved. That's the way I saw it, and I think that everyone at Bungie saw it this way. And when Activision got involved, they started stripping things out. And I've read an article or two that say that people have said this, that Activision got involved, and they basically started taking the heart and soul of the game away.
Yeah, absolutely. I've been reading about this news article that you're talking about now, and I noticed that they had lots of lawsuit papers were confirming that the story was like, and quote unquote, substantially changed from all of that pre-release material that you were talking about, and they, and it's quite interesting. Because what I find interesting, I'm glad Marty kind of O'Donnell got his pay, but what I found interesting was a lot of stats came out of this, and like one of them was, like you say, the story mode being just cut back, and how they actually said that it was supposed to come out in September 2013, and obviously it came out in, I think, August 2014, didn't it? And then they also so they had a longer time, and that there was also supposed to be around about this time there was supposed to be Destiny 2. So even though they were selling it to us as this one big world that would continue to evolve, they actually had Destiny 2 that was destined to come out about now.
Yeah, of course they did. And so Marty stood up. I mean, he was standing up for the music because they sort of were trying to diddle him with the music or something. But to me, he sort of was standing up for the vision that they had for the game, and the game that I wanted Destiny to be. And so I'm glad he won. That's the upshot. I'm glad he won. So he
absolutely. I mean, the interesting thing, like I say, the stats that did come out of this is that they said that they hit 6.3 million units, amounting in $47.5 million within the month of September when it was released last year. So they sold 6.3 million copies of Destiny within a month, and that also they had a pre-release first day orders of over 500 million. And I was it's just like, wow, and they've reached 20 million players, an increase of 4 million within the first 3 months, and I'm just like, wow, and so they had a lot of people. There's a lot of disappointed people.
I bought my PS4 because of Destiny. That's why I bought my PS4, because Destiny came out. I bought it the day that Destiny came out. I got the Destiny White Glacier Edition or whatever it's called. Because of Destiny, because I wanted it to be that game. And it is a great game.
Will you be going back in now that it's being updated and patched? I mean, last night, 18 gig patch was released last night. So I turned on my Xbox 360 to watch something on Amazon Love Film or Amazon Instant Film, and I thought I'll just have a look, see if Destiny 2.0 patch, and it was there, and it was clocking in at 18 gig.
But yeah, no, I won't be playing it. They've had their chance.
Well, yeah. But I mean, so you got like the 2.0 that's kind of going to give a lot of interesting new stuff, and lots of character levels, some of the way that you level up and things like that are all changing. And also we have the Taken King, which I've been reading a lot about, and that comes out on the 15th.
Yeah, and they're going to get rid of Mr. Dinklage's voiceover, aren't they? For what's the robot called? I've forgotten. Ghost? No, it's not Ghost.
Yeah, it's the Ghost.
Oh, is it
Dinklage
Ghost?
Is gone in Destiny 2.0 patch that was released last night.
And it's going to be Nolan North all the way through.
Absolutely, and Nolan North, and he has it's not just new dialogue; he has re-recorded all of the dialogue.
It's going to replace all the existing dialogue as well, isn't it? It's quite like a whitewash over with it. But yeah, if I enjoyed Destiny. I mean, when we did the Destiny checker, I'd done 37 hours on it. That's more than I played The Witcher. So I did enjoy it, and I think the good combat and the gunplay is really good. But it didn't deliver that story, and I was so disappointed in it. And with the very samey sort of level design, and the grind. And in the end, the Crucible was the best bit for me, and then I just gave it to my nephew. And he's enjoying it. I noticed he was playing it before. He loves it, and loads of people love it.
Yeah, I mean, Nicola and I are going to be, we've like I say, we've downloaded that patch for both of us, and we are also going to be buying the Taken King. I had a bit of confusion because I wasn't sure, because I have it all digitally, I was looking on the Xbox store, I couldn't quite figure out what pack I needed. I think it's about £35 for the Taken King, and that gives us obviously the Taken King, but it also gives us the previous DLC that I've already bought, which was a little bit confusing. But by all accounts, the Taken King has quite a big story mode, and it does sound like they've really kind of sat down and gone, okay, let's kind of right these wrongs. So I'm quite looking forward to going back into Destiny, because it's a stunning game, and like you say, it feels like Halo, it plays like Halo, and I'm quite looking forward to going back in.
Well, I probably sound a bit down on it, really, but for me, to make up for what they've done and the milking money approach that they've had to the whole concept and their model, the Taken King or Taken Cash or whatever they want to call it would have to be free and as good as you say to make me even consider going back. And I think there's a lot of people, a lot of fans that feel the same, but it doesn't matter because the figures speak for themselves. The fans that have got the hump like me aren't really making a blemish on the sales because it's still making loads of money, and the same as Assassin's Creed. Bring out a poor Assassin's Creed, they're all the same, Don't really rate them anymore as like a game that I'd want to buy, but that doesn't matter because plenty of people enjoy it, and if people are enjoying it and they're happy to pay and they're getting what they want out of it, good for them.
Absolutely. I mean, it's quite interesting because obviously, you're doing the right thing, I think, where, because you are not happy with it, you're doing the right thing, which is you're showing your distaste for this with your wallet. You're not paying for it. Where there's so many people that go, oh, I hate Destiny, and yet they continue to buy the stuff. They continue to kind of play it. But, I mean, for you, if you were going to play the Taken King, it would work out well for you because you'd get the other two DLC. They would be free for you for buying the Taken King. So, but yeah, I mean, I'm going to play it. I'll report back in a couple of weeks what it's like on the show. But no, I'm quite looking forward to it. It's almost like it's going to be my co-op thing with Nicola until Halo comes out.
Stop it! You're talking me round. I'll look forward.
You wait until I start playing it. I'll be like, my God, the story is amazing.
That's what I was going to say. I'll look forward to hearing your reports. And if you came back to me we were discussing it, and you're like, honestly, Daz, mate, it's what you wanted. It's there now, and I'd be sorely tempted to jump in if it was that good. I'd take your word for it. So we will see.
Awesome. And right, next piece of news is with me, and that's kind of back to that awesomely lovely game, which is Metal Gear Solid. And no surprise, but Metal Gear Solid debuts at number 1 in the UK charts. What I thought was interesting about this, not only is it kind of debuting at number 1, which obviously we totally knew it would. You've got Mad Max at number 2, and Gears of War Ultimate Edition is number 3, and then Until Dawn, that's getting some really good hype as well, is in at number 4. And again, this is kind of UK sales, not taking digital copies into account. But the interesting thing about this very kind of quick story, is that 72% of it was on PS4. The true home of Metal Gear Solid. I'm, Xbox fanboy that I am, I'm playing mine on PS4 and loving it. So we had 72% on the PlayStation 4 and 22% was on Xbox One. So in my maths, that's only 94. So there's 6% that's making up PS3, Xbox 360 and PC.
Wow, that's such an interesting statistic. Let's see this time next year with a game of that stature, whether the gap's closed a little bit, because there's more and more buzz about the power of the cloud with the Xbox. What with the Crackdown 3 demonstration, that's absolutely, people are just amazed by this, and they're saying that that's the tip of the iceberg for how the Xbox One can offset its processing power and deliver experiences that you wouldn't be able to get on any other system. And I read a report that said this is Crackdown 3. The way that's going to implement that is only the tip of the iceberg of what they're thinking of doing with this technology. It's a little bit late to the party. 2 years down the road, and we discussed this before, that if they'd have shown something like this and demonstrated what the cloud could do right at the start, they would have probably got a lot more buy-in. But if they can do more things like this and advertise it correctly and get more people involved, then we might see a bit more of a level on something like that, because maybe a game coming out in the future, or maybe there'll be a game that PS4 can't do, for instance. But if it was a multi-format one, and the Xbox One made up for that deficit in processing power by offsetting to the cloud, and it could actually do that, then you might see a close in the stats as people go, oh, hold on a minute, then I might make that choice.
No, absolutely. And like I say, it will be interesting to kind of see, especially after the lineup that Microsoft have this winter, this fall. It will be interesting to see what that kind of cross-platform statistic looks like after that.
Yeah, and because there's going to be a bit of a PS4 drought, really. There's a lot of things that are like way off into the future, whereas the Xbox is solid, hitting you, bang, 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 good title, good title, good title. So yeah, it'll be very interesting to see what happens there. Yeah. Okay. Well, the next piece of news is with my good self, and this is only a quick thing, but it's basically that an ex-Microsoft employee was speaking to a website called GeekWire, and he's called Robbie Bark. He's a former president of Microsoft Entertainment and Devices division, and he stated that next-gen consoles will probably not incorporate physical media. And the quote is, does it have physical media? Probably not. So how does that look? Is it just a game box, or is it more? What's the balance between what an Apple TV is and what an Xbox or a PS4 is? These are interesting questions, and the teams are going to have to wrestle with those. That next generation will be a whole new game. And so this just sort of reaffirms or adds more evidence or adds more rumour to what we were talking about a little bit with the NX not having an optical drive. And do we need optical drives? Because, I mean, all they're really being used for at the moment, as I sort of alluded to before, is really just a verification that you've bought the game. It's just as long as it says, right, yeah, the disc's in there, so we'll play that game from the hard drive that it's been installed to. So does it matter if a console doesn't have an optical drive? I mean, they're bringing out a new Mac, aren't they? Or is it already out and it doesn't have anything on it apart from like one port? Or it's sort of like it's just all going to be wireless and Bluetooth and Wi-Fi.
Absolutely, the Mac, what you're talking about is kind of the MacBook Air, I think, and that's it just has one multifunctional port.
That's right,
that
that's it.
And it, fantastic, and they've been doing that for a while, where there's no disk drive, you have to download everything even when you're installing, and physical media really is kind of dying out when you're looking at kind of Macs and PCs. So, I mean, I think it's really interesting, but if you think about what we've just had added to the Xbox One, which is backward compatibility, and how that is just blowing everybody's mind and everybody's using it, and it really does seem to be how would that work in a physical media less box? How would that work? How would you be able to kind of say, yep, I own this copy of whatever, I want to, my Xbox One game, I want to play it on my Xbox 2 game, I wonder how that would work. But they're the kind of things that I guess they're trying to figure out right now.
Yeah, I suppose, there'd have to be a line drawn. So, for instance, it'd be like, well, the discs unfortunately won't work, but anything that you buy now digitally will be in your account, a bit like your iTunes account or whatever, or your Microsoft account, etc., or your PS Store account. Mm-hmm. And it would be like, because the only games I haven't really got hardly any 360 games sort of to hand, discs, I mean. So the only ones I've played on backward compatibility are the ones that I've bought, on Xbox Live. So, and I'm happy with that, I don't begrudge it. And I know that if there's anything special, I could get it for cheap anyway. But even if my device, my console, didn't have an optical drive, then that would take that out of the running. And I don't think I'd be too disappointed about that, because I'd know if I sort of had the faith that going forward, that everything I'd bought from that point, from the opticless, from the line of opticless or discless consoles, or digital only is probably an easier way of putting it, or no physical media. And they sort of made an announcement and said, look, from this date, we're going to stop with the physical media. Unfortunately, with backwards compatibility, obviously you won't be able to use your discs, but what we're going to say is that from now on we're going to be really diligent about including backwards compatibility as we go forward from this generation on. And things that you'll buy, we're going to make sure, to the best of our ability, that you'll be able to play them on the forthcoming consoles. And then I could sort of say, okay, fair enough, I'm disappointed about my back catalogue collection. My discs won't be useful anymore. But on the other hand, I can see what you're doing. And I would appreciate that you've got to draw a line somewhere, because, or maybe they'd say something like, you could, a bit like the the hard drive transfer system that they used to have on the 360. Do you remember that? And you sort of...
Oh, yes, absolutely.
So you could put, maybe you'd put your disc in and it'd upload it. A bit like ripping a CD on iTunes. So you'd put your disc in and it'd rip it and store it. Maybe that could be a solution. So you'd say, right, before you go to diskless, pop them all in, the ones you're bothered about anyway, if they're covered on the list. Pop them in, we'll rip it, that'll verify the purchase, but then it's about... You could just borrow all your mates' games, so they'd have to think about systems to protect it. But that maybe they could do that. So you could say that they worked out how to verify it, for instance. Probably not bothered, the games are only worth a few quid anyway now. And it's like, you put your discs in, it rips them, and then you've got them stored, and then maybe they're only supported for a few years or something, I don't know. But then they say from that time onwards, we're going to do our very best to keep all these games live for your pleasure. Maybe not multiplayer servers being online, but certainly single-player experiences.
Absolutely. I mean, that's what they're doing at the moment with like backwards compatibility. If you've bought a digital game, if that server may still be up and running, it may still, I know EA, they do kind of shut off their servers. Kind of, I think they're kind of like a couple of games back, aren't they? With like FIFA and things like that. I think they go kind of like 3 years back, and then you can't get online matches for those. But that's that's expected if you're playing this old game. I mean, for me, that's just a logical move, because I'm finding more and more that physical media is I'm buying less and less of it. It's just like Age of Ultron is out on Blu-ray this coming Monday, the Avengers Age of Ultron, and I was toying with the idea of just getting it, because it's actually available now on iTunes and Sky and Blinkbox and other places. It's there ahead of it. So this weekend I could happily have a movie night and just kind of get some popcorn and watch Age of Ultron. But I'm still, at the moment, I'm still waiting for that 3D version, and that's why I'm kind of keeping hold of my Blu-ray, my Age of Ultron Blu-rays, because I've got the 3D version. But I'm just one step away. All that Apple or anyone has to do is kind of have a 3D version or a 4K version. I was hoping that the Apple TV that was announced this evening, there's a brand new Apple TV was announced while we were recording this podcast, and that doesn't look like it's going to be 4K compatible kind of out of the box. That's a bit of a disappointment. So, and all of that's kind of coming within the next kind of couple of years. But at that point, when they start releasing 4K, I might abandon 3D for that 4K content and just enjoy that instead. And at that point, I will probably go completely digital, because I'm doing it for my movies, I'm doing it for a lot of games, and I'm happy. I'm ready to go digital.
Yeah, I think I'm finding, apart from games, because I still get a bit of a buzz from a physical copy of a game, and that's probably just a nostalgia thing, but I certainly find that music and movies, I find just discs are completely archaic. They just feel archaic, and they feel like a clutter to have them just even in a row that I used to like. All your films out. I just look at them now and I'm like, I don't like that. I just feel so old-fashioned. But I suppose when you're looking at like going digital, and from a national point of view, it's sort of underpinned by the broadband infrastructure. So really, for it to take off how we would like it to, you need a minimum speed across the nation, don't you? I mean, there's choice, but you're going to get, if they do start, say if no optical drives became a norm, and it started to get no ports, not even USBs on things and stuff like that, places in the UK would be stuck.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, it was quite interesting. The Destiny patch, which I was saying was 18 gig. I kicked that off, and then I fired up Amazon Instant Film. I was watching some Parks and Rec, which, if anyone hasn't watched it, Parks and Recreation is hilarious, and I'm really enjoying it. It's just one of those, I can't stop watching it. And then we watched like 2 or 3 episodes with kind of dinner, and we just kind of watched, and then I went back to my downloads, and it was only at 7%. So that was about, each episode of Parks and Rec is about 21 minutes long, so you're talking about an hour of, when I went back, I know I was using my bandwidth to watch this on Amazon via the Xbox, but then when I went back in, when I looked, I think I'd only at 7%, so I just left it. So luckily, obviously all of these providers give you the chance to download and pre-download before it comes out, but if you still don't think we're at that place at the moment with either Xbox or PlayStation where you could say, "Oh, do you know what? I didn't know that game was coming out. I'm going to buy that now and play it." You have to wait for that download, and I think I've got, as I've said before, I've got like 73 meg download, and yet still that doesn't really kind of come into a factor when you're looking at Xbox One and especially PS4.
Yeah, and when you've got like a bottle end at the server end, say a big release, and everybody's getting it from Microsoft servers or Sony servers, there's going to be a bottleneck at that end. So yeah, it does rely a lot on the speed because we want it instant. We want it there and then. I wouldn't want to. You want to be able to play a game on a whim, like you just said. I want to play that now, and you wouldn't be thinking, I've got to wait for 40 gig to download. You'd want to think.
Absolutely. Exactly. Luckily for me, I've got space on my external hard drive. But if you didn't have an external hard drive and you were juggling, you removed Destiny because you finished it and you're waiting for the Taken King to come out, and then you go, okay, right, I've got to download that again. You've then got to try and juggle, and then you've got to download kind of a 40 gig game. And, that is not I'll be online in a minute, mate. That is, I'll see you tomorrow for some gaming.
It's just the time. There's two things there really. There's the broadband infrastructure for everybody in the UK, and I think the US are way ahead of us anyway. And then there's the content provider making sure that they've got fat enough pipes for the demand. So that solves that. So let's say that gets sorted, which it will in time. And then you're getting your 40 gig game in 5-10 minutes, which that's not inconceivable. And then the next thing will be sort of the partnership with the stores and stuff as that breaks away. And we've discussed it before as like Microsoft start to distribute the consoles through a Microsoft shop, through a Microsoft channel. Sony have already got some shops around, and the high street shops would sort of disappear or change. It would be survival of the fittest, wouldn't it? Adapt or disappear.
Absolutely. I mean, you're already seeing it with Microsoft. Some of their exclusive bundles, this winter, this fall, are already exclusive to the Microsoft store. So you already see, that controller that I was talking about, that 80 Bongos was showing, that's only available via the Microsoft store. So they're already doing it. They're already kind of cheekily doing. I mean, hopefully we're not going to have another console for probably another 10 years anyway. Well, maybe not that long. We've already had 2 years, maybe already? Another kind of 7 years. Maybe in 7 years. So maybe by then, the high street, the infrastructure, everything is going to be completely different.
Yeah, the landscape will be vastly different, and we'll all have our VR stuff as well. So who knows what the landscape's going to look like then?
Absolutely. Well, we're kind of living in the future. If Back to the Future ever told us anything, I would have my hoverboard. I think that's now though, isn't it? It's Back to the Future like 2015 or something like that. Yeah. Because like October 31st, 2015 was Back to the Future.
Yeah, it was.
I think if I got that right, then I love my nerd brain.
30 years at the sweet spot because they went back from 1985 to 1955. And so if you add 30 to 85, we're in 15, aren't we?
Yeah, we are. I'm sure it's October something. Someone will correct me, but it's October something 2015.
But I'm sure there you go. Just to digress a minute, right? I'm sure that 1985, which was when I was young, doesn't look as old-fashioned to kids today. Surely, please tell me that it doesn't. As 1955 looked to me when I was watching Back to the Future 1 in 1985. Did you follow that? Because
I did indeed.
1955 was so old-fashioned compared to 1985. Yeah. But 1985's got its own sort of style, but I mean, yeah, there's a 50s style too, but it just seemed so old-fashioned to me.
Yeah, maybe in 1985 we thought the 50s were cool, like how people nowadays think the 80s are cool.
Yeah, maybe. Sorry about that. I just wanted to say, but yeah, that's the sort of time period we're in.
Oh, that almost made my head hurt. But anyway, speaking of 80s and speaking of cool things from the 80s, it's a very loose connection that I've got here, is Minecraft Story Mode, and I'm talking about that because obviously it reunites a lot of the Goonies cast.
Well recovered.
Thank you very much. I had to explain how I got there.
I loved it.
It's not really a segue if you have to do that. Anyway, online retailer Amazon listed a date for Minecraft Story Mode, which is via Telltale Games, on October the 27th in North America.
Oh, demon.
So now what they're doing is they're saying that this is it's a disc, it's a retail disc for Minecraft Story Mode, and it contains the first episode, and it grants you access to the next 4 episodes when they become available. So it looks like Minecraft Story Mode is going to be out around the 27th, 30th of October, just in time for that's Halloween, isn't it?
Yeah, it is.
So, yeah. So just in time for Halloween.
That's really cool. I'm going to get that. I'm a big Minecraft fan. I told my nephews about it, and I was expecting them to be elated and full of rejoicement and joy at a Telltale game that does Minecraft. And they were just like, oh, that sounds rubbish. That's not Minecraft. It doesn't suit Minecraft. I don't like it. It shouldn't be like that. They shouldn't be doing a story mode for it. Like, really, they were proper saying it, they were proper going mad. And I was really shocked. I was like, no, this is good. And they were like, no, I don't like it. And I was so I don't know if that represents what sort of the kids, are going to think of it, but I think it's good.
Absolutely. I can't wait to play this. I didn't even play Minecraft, and I can't wait to play this just because of the voice cast. Patton Oswalt. You've got Martha Plimpton, Corey Feldman, and the Paul Rubens. Paul Rubens is the other chap. And you have those guys, and I can't wait to hear it. And I did read something that you can control. I think you can control any protagonist. So for the first time in a Telltale game, you can control who you want to be. Who your character wants to be, because there's obviously a group of them. I think you can control, any of them. So you can control, whether you wanted to be a girl, but a guy, So it's really kind of it's catering for everyone, because Sam obviously would want to be a boy, but if you've got a daughter and you want to sit down and play with them, you don't really want to play it through the eyes of a boy. You want to, they want to get them to immerse themselves in, So I quite like the fact that you can choose the sex of your character, because I just think that always kind of jars me a little bit when you have to play of a certain kind of ilk and you're not allowed to choose your sex. So well done Telltale for kind of adding that, because I do think, as you said, I think you're going to sit down and play this with Sam, and I do think that there's a lot of that is going to happen, mums and daughters and mums and sons and fathers, and I think you're going to play it as a family, and I just think it's quite a nice little add on here.
Yeah, and I think you're absolutely right with that, and maybe Gamergate wasn't all in vain, because I think a lot of this sort of being able to choose your sex in games came from the massive controversy that came out of that, and it does seem very prevalent now that there's a lot of more openness about not just being stuck with your standard generic guy in a game. And I remember, I think it was Sony's conference. They made some E3 conference, just gone, and they made some particular references about being more open with the gaming and open gaming, and they didn't really mention gender as such, but they sort of made a few sound bites that were very much more about opening up to be more diverse. I don't know if you noticed that, but I did notice it.
I totally did, and I think that's it. I think if Gamergate has given us anything, it has given that kind of, other developers have woken up that people want to be able to choose. Obviously, some franchises like Metal Gear Solid, they kind of bank on that's the character. You're playing Snake, you are playing that. But obviously, there can be side characters, and still a bit worried kind of having that as an example with Quiet being very kind of it's just inappropriately dressed from the images that I've seen.
Neither of us have met her in the game yet, so it'll be interesting to see that. And I've seen some stuff that I've had to rush past quickly that say there's a reason for it all, but I can't read that, so I can't comment on it. So it'll take us some time to be able to comment on Quiet's situation.
Indeed. Right, next news article is with you.
Yeah, thank you very much. This one these are only a few quick ones to end with, really. Nintendo's Shigeru Miyamoto has exclusively said to Eurogamer that Pikmin 4 is in development and very close to completion. So this is the quote. Very close to completion. Pikmin teams are always working on the next one. But there was no... it's quite a vague comment. There was no platform mentioned, which is interesting. There was rumours that I read the other day, and I don't know if you saw any of these articles, that there was an expectation yesterday that when Apple confirmed or announced the new Apple TV that you just talked about, that it was going to be some kind of gaming console, and that Nintendo were rumoured to be working in partnership with Apple on it. And it looks like that was complete nonsense.
I don't know. I mean, like I say, I haven't, because we were recording, I switched off, but I did see some kind of games in the new Apple TV. I did see some TV OS that looked like it was kind of giving games. But if they're going to give games, I want a controller. The reason why I don't really play games on my iPhone, is because I want a controller. I'll play Plants vs Zombies on my iPad, but that's probably about it, because I don't like having my fingers all over the screen, because it just obscures. So if they are going to make Apple TV into something special, then they need to give us some sort of wireless controller, or even let us use our kind of existing controllers that we have plenty of in our living rooms.
Yeah, absolutely. So take from that what you will. Does it mean it's saying it's very close to completion? I'm presuming it just means it's going to come out on the Wii U. That's what I think it means. I think maybe the rumours that it was hand in hand with Apple TV. We'll see. I'd be like to be proved wrong, but it seems to be like getting 2 and 2 and making 25. But it was just kind of because that quote came out at the same time, very close to this announcement with Apple, and it's kind of like, oh, well, that would be good. Well, it would be good, but that Apple TV would have to be quite powerful, and it's only a small box, to deliver a Pikmin 4 experience that the fan base would be waiting for. I mean, I know the Wii U and the Wii aren't that powerful, but they're more powerful than, give them some credit, it's more powerful than Apple TV, unless Apple have done something amazing. So yeah, we'll see. It's probably just going to come out for Christmas on Wii U, I'd say, but we'll keep an eye on it, and we'll see if I was right.
So do you think it will be Christmas, or do you think it will be NX?
I think, from what he said, because he said it's close to completion now, NX isn't scheduled till like 2017, I believe, to let it hyper away through 2016. Well, I say that, but Nintendo may not even talk about it until it's released. But I sort of think that from that it would be, because it's pretty barren for Wii U, not that Nintendo are known to be bothered about perception like that, they just do what they want. They've only got Star Fox coming out, really, so it'd be a nice companion, wouldn't it? So maybe they're being nice. They're going to get it out for the Wii U, for the Wii U loyal, the Wii U massive.
Mm-hmm. Maybe. So, yeah, give them something to play at Christmas.
Yeah, exactly. Give them something if they haven't got another console already. So that's that. The next piece of news, is this one with me or you, Anthony?
This one's with you.
Of course it is. Sorry, mate. This is about gaming world records, and the Guinness World Records 2016 Gamer Edition comes out tomorrow on September the 10th, so you will probably it'll be out by the time you are listening to this. And it's got loads of, as the title would make you think, it's got loads of gaming world records in it, which I think is pretty interesting. So it's got a few, I was just going to give you a couple, or maybe 3 different records that are contained therein. So, for instance, you've got YouTuber Kurt J. Max Achievement. He's a guy from the US. He's made he's got a world record, for the longest journey in Minecraft, walking over 2,097,152 blocks, which is the equivalent of 2,097.15 kilometres to reach the far lands.
Wow.
And I believe that's taken like many years, 3 years of continuous travel in the game. And it only made, I think it was something about, because it's procedurally generated, you couldn't really ever get to the end, but I think if you just travelled long enough, there was a way to do it, and this was mythically called the Farlands. So this guy started a YouTube channel called Farlands or Bust, and I've never watched it, but I've heard about it before, and it's just interesting to see it's in the world record book. So after 3 years of continuous travel in the game, I don't know whether he's got like a Homer Simpson woodpecker thing, like just holding the key down. He only made it 16% of the way to the Farlands in that game. It's so expansive. So I thought that was quite interesting.
Wow.
Yeah, I know. It's amazing, isn't it? Also, we've got such records as the fastest goal in Pro Evolution Soccer 2015. That's 4 seconds. The highest score on Mario Brothers, which on Super Mario Brothers. So I'm presuming that's like World 1. No, it can't be. Well, all I've got here is highest score on Super Mario Brothers, 1,435,100 points, and the largest original fictional world, which is Minecraft, as you probably would have guessed, which is measures at 102,400 by 51,200 blocks, which is over 5,000 kilometres in Minecraft. So hopefully they'll there'll be other records in there that are maybe a bit more interesting than that. But that was the pick of the bunch that I'd read about. I quite liked them. But just that there's a book of world records of gaming, I think is such an evolution from the days when we were kids, man, when you never even, there was no such thing as games being advertised on TV and what have you. And we wished for that gaming utopia where games were mainstream, and there you go. It's in the world record books now. Guinness are there and publishing all about the world of gaming.
I like it. That's just so cool. And when's that out? That's out
tomorrow, 10th of September. Right. So yeah, we're recording on the 9th. It's out on the 10th. So yeah, have a look, have a read through. And the very last thing that I've got is the expansion for Witcher 3. The release date has been announced, and that is launching on October the 13th, 2015. It's the Hearts of Stone expansion, and it's got over 10 hours of new adventures, and it's got some new characters, some new monsters that are more powerful, unique romance options, and a brand new storyline which you can again shape with your own choices. 10 hours, that's pretty long, but I seem to remember that there was talk of the expansions being as big as The Witcher 2.
Well, there is. I mean, there's another expansion that's coming out in January, which is clocking in at about 25 to 30 hours.
That'll be the one. So this is just an hors d'oeuvre.
Yes, this is your moose-bouche before you kind of get into this large meal that is the extra DLC. That one's coming out. That's coming out in 2016.
Oh, okay, cool. So as well, quite rare for this sort of thing. They're also bringing out a physical copy, a limited edition, boxed edition of the expansion, which is going to be $19.99 or €19.99 at selected retailers. Probably will be a game exclusive, I imagine. So yeah, I've sort of had enough Witcher personally. So I don't imagine I'll be diving in. I might, maybe by January, things will be different. But at the moment, I've done The Witcher and I need a break. So plus Metal Gear, and if I had to pick, I don't know if you agree, but already, I'm going to say it, I like Metal Gear better than The Witcher.
Yeah, I mean, obviously, I've only ever got to level 5 on The Witcher because I got sidetracked by Batman, and I haven't gone back. Nicola's copy's still unopened. She's saving that for Christmas. I'll be interested to see what she kind of thinks of it. But for me, I want to go back because when I see it, and when I saw this news come out, I got quite excited about it. Oh, Witcher! And I remembered I actually own a copy, so I should just. But like I say, at the moment, there's other games that are just kind of taking my interest.
Yeah, taking precedence. And I've got a soft spot for The Witcher in my heart because that was sort of the first big title that came out when we just started the podcast, I think, really. When that was the one we were looking forward to, and we sort of covered it. It came out, and the progression of us playing it and what happened, and you going off to Batman, it's been a bit of a common theme, certainly, in the first 5 to 10 episodes. So
absolutely, this podcast was a bit of the Witcher pod, wasn't it? For like the first kind of 3 episodes, that's all we were talking about.
Yeah, it's just like Witcher. We can't wait for The Witcher, and they came out. We're just talking for ages about it. So
it just shows how fickle we are, doesn't it? Just now we're Metal Gear, all about Metal Gear.
Yeah, see you later. The gamers are a fickle bunch.
We are indeed. Right, and I guess that's about it then for this episode. Yeah. Again, kind of thank you very much for listening to the Gamers of Lost the Mark podcast. Don't forget, you can keep up with us at gamersoflostmark.com. We have some news articles that are going up there. We're trying to post on a regular basis, putting up some news and some articles as well that Darren's writing. We did have a piece about The Witcher, about the new game. We kind of broke that quite quickly on Twitter and Facebook. And where you can find us on Facebook, we're Gamers of Lost Spark, and on Twitter, we're on at Lost Spark Pod. We're also available on YouTube. Darren, where can we find you online?
Yeah, you can get me on PS4, Xbox One and Twitch as Wythamator, and Dazagamer on YouTube, and at Daz Whittam on Twitter. What about your good self, Anthony?
For me, I am Chessman on Xbox Live, I am PS-Chessman on the PlayStation Network, and I am Chessman UK on Twitter. If you have any feedback, please send it to our email address. That email address is feedback@gamersoflostmark.com, and if you would like to, you could always leave us a 5-star rating on iTunes. So that's about it. We'll catch up with you next week. Thanks very much.
Thanks a lot, everybody. Bye-bye.